Hermetic, and the esoteric groups of the 19th and 20th centuries in the UK and in France used a transliterated Hebrew cipher with the Latin alphabet. In particular, the transliterated cipher was taught to members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. In 1887, S.L. MacGregor Mathers, who was one of the order's founders, published the transliterated cipher in the Kabbalah, unveiled in the Mathers table. Table of Hebrew and Chaldee letters, number, sound, and power. Hebrew and Chaldee letters, numerical values, Roman character, by which express names, signification of names. 1a, thousands are denoted by a larger letter, thus an aleph larger than the rest of the letters, among which it is, signifies not one, but 1,000. Aleph, Fox, 2b, bb, Beth, House, 3g, hard, gaga, g, gimel, camel, 4d, d, gelif, door, day, delif, door, 5h, a 5h, window, 6v, u, over 6v, vowel, peg, nail, 7z, d, z, 7z, sign, weapon, sword, 8, co, 8, ch, chest, enclosure, fence, 9, 10, 19, text, serpent, 10, I, y, cast,
yo, what's good, y'all?
11 K, final, final equals 500k, cap, palm of the hand, 12 L, 30 L, lane, ox, go at 30 M, a final M of 40, final equals 600 mm, water 14, and the final lawn 50, final 700 N, none, fish 15, Cessa 6S, stomach prop support 16, OA, nodded I 70, O, I and I 17, P, I pay, final equal left 80, final 800 P, per mouth 18, tis, T to J, side, final logic 90, final equals 900, TZ, tatty, fishing hook 19, Q, 100, the finals are not always considered as bearing an increased numerical value, Q off back of the head, 20 R, 200 R, rash head, 21 shit, CG 300 SH, shin tooth 22 VT 400 SH, tau side of the cross. As a former member of the Golden Dawn, Aleister Crowley used the transliterated cipher extensively in his writings for his two magical orders, the A and Ordo Templi Orientis.
Yeah, this song. What's good, you guys? Good evening. I think what I'm trying to share is probably over the heads of most, we'll look at it anyway. That's actually the intro song I made a long time ago called Transliterated Hebrew. And it's the cipher from Aleister Crowley, the Order of the Golden Dawn. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. You guys remember that shit? Remember the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn that does the Gematria? Anyways, so I found this really interesting documentary, little short video on YouTube that I wanted to share with you guys about the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn doing the Gematria. But first, since we're talking about Gematria, I think it's fair and wise to share this video first about cults. So yeah, this was another good little video that I found about these type of cults.
You attain the truth, happiness,
They have so much control and so much mind control over you that you just are at their whim.
She was arrested on charges of holding cult members against their will and subjecting them to
See if
abuse.
anybody even knows what we're talking about.
Dead and mummified in a sleeping bag, wrapped with Christmas lights in southern Colorado.
I questioned Jeff, and his reply was, how dare you question your God?
Doesn't that shit sound familiar?
A cult, you imagine people wearing robes and living in the mountains. Modern cults are clever. They dress like influencers and talk like life coaches. Slowly.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
And then it's too late to escape. I'm taking you on a deep dive about secrets.
Who's that? I think I'm gonna have to monitor the chat from the
See
phone.
just how easy it is for some people to fall into one without even noticing. I want to thank you guys because we hit 1.5 million subscribers and it's so the new goal is 2.5 million subscribers by the end of 2026, which is absolutely crazy. crazy goal. So with me in the world, if you subscribe, I promise to do the best that I can to put out the best videos possible. I'm sick right now, and you are awesome. Modern Mystery School. Some cults pretend to be religions. This one pretends to be a school. The Modern Mystery School claims it trains people to cast out demons and battle evil spirits. But somehow, that's not the strangest thing about it. The strangest thing is that the cult allegedly started on a spaceship.
And to get you up out of here.
Goodnison claimed he had an encounter with advanced aliens. And according to him, it was life-changing. According to Goodby, the aliens taught him ancient magic that he could use to improve his life. Before they left, they gave him a mission. Share that wisdom with the world so that everyone can have a better life. Soon after, Goodby opened a small spiritual center in Utah.
We are now finally offering our services and our teachings to the general public.
He sold himself as an enlightened
Let's see if this works.
Spirituality, mysticism, and charisma attracted thousands. He promised students peace, healing, and a life without negativity. But Goodby's lessons.
You know how you can tell that what I'm doing is addressing and dealing with the cult? Because they send, dude, this cult, Gematria clan, this dude literally like sends like child bots in my chat, and I have to like go look at their account and then block them and get them up out of here. So, peace out, Gematrian. Like, it's unbelievable. Young Gematria.
Train people to fight those spirits.
Gideon up in Matria, your rich ass up out of here.
Classes like spells and charms, alchemy, and dragon magic. The advanced students learn exorcism. In reality, the exorcism classes were just meditation and martial arts style exercises. Still, many students believed they were performing great magic. Then came the rituals. To reach the highest levels, students had to pass extreme tests. One of them involved.
Can you guys hear this?
The shovel the sand on top of your.
Dude, look at how crazy some of these cults actually are.
Am I gonna die?
Those who passed joined an elite inner circle called the Shadow Team. Goodby sent the Shadow Team to places hit by earthquakes and floods. He told them demons caused those natural disasters.
We were told that there used to be portals that opened up where these demons were literally coming in onto the planet.
The Shadow Team performed magic rituals to stop the destruction.
And we had to stop the demonic infestation.
Students felt powerful and devoted, but the deeper they went, the more it cost. Some classes cost thousands of dollars. Private sessions with leaders cost even more.
I'd say about a good $95,000 just on classes, let alone expenses and everything. A lot of money, a lot of money.
Some followers sold their homes, quit jobs, and went into debt just to keep paying.
And it doesn't matter if you borrow money from the bank because that's, money is energy, it's flowing, so borrow all the money that you can.
And when they tried to leave, the school used fear to keep them trapped.
The school makes you believe that if you leave the school, that you're gonna be possessed by the devil. If you leave the school, you're gonna get cancer and this disease and that disease.
For years, Goodby kept manipulating and profiting from followers. One day, it all came crashing down. In 2021, a reporter named Mark Wilding started digging into the cult. He interviewed former members, teachers, and insiders. They described a world built on fear, control, and endless payments. Mark also uncovered how the school used spiritual threats to keep people dependent. When his report came out, it made national headlines. Modern Mystery School denied all accusations. They claimed that the former members were lying to destroy their reputation. The story really weakened the cult. After reading the expose, hundreds of followers quit. But a lot of members stayed loyal, and the cult continued. Today, the Modern Mystery School is still active. It claims to have members in more than 60 countries, and they're still selling expensive courses on exorcism and magic. The cult exploited people for money, and its members didn't even realize until it was too late. A few years ago, I was exploited in a similar way. Someone found my personal information online and used it to threaten me and my family. That was the moment I realized how exposed we really are. I tried to delete my data online by myself, but there were hundreds of different websites that had it. There was absolutely no way I could remove it all manually. You see, these data broker websites make money by collecting your information and selling them to anyone who pays. And apparently it's perfectly legal, which is insane to me. The data brokers are also required by law to delete your information if you ask them to. But tracking down every single website is nearly impossible. That's what today's sponsor, Aura, does for you. Aura finds which websites have your data and does all the removal requests automatically. After a couple of weeks, you'll notice less spam calls, less junk mail, and your information becomes a lot harder to find online. Aura doesn't stop there. It monitors.
Hey, what's up, person in my chat? I don't think I
If
know
someone
you.
tries to open up a bank account with your name, you'll get notified right away. And in the worst case scenario, you're covered by up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. And to help you stay even safer online, you get a VPN, antivirus software, and a password manager. If you guys want to try Aura, click the link in the description or head to aura.com/VV for a 14-day free trial. That gives Aura enough time to find out if your personal data is already being sold online. This next cult held hundreds of people captive.
Listen to this shit. This shit sounds like wax. This shit sounds like
an
gold.
apocalypse is coming to wipe out humanity, and they're convinced only one person can save them. Their leader, Shin Ju. Grace Road started in 2002 as a South Korean church. Preaching sounded more like science fiction than scripture. The leader, Shin Ju, told followers that doctors were part of a devilish conspiracy.
Doctors implanting things into you, like chips, microchips, nanochips.
She also said modern medicine was a sleep and that many humans were actually reptilian creatures.
Listen, what I want to point out about all this is how they use how these cults use conspiracy theories.
Grace Road churches.
Look how they do this.
We are heading for an impending global cataclysm that will involve nuclear war.
After the war, she said global famine would occur. Only her followers would be saved as long as they obeyed her completely. At first, almost nobody took her seriously. Other churches called her a heretic. The media ignored her. But a small group believed. They saw her as a prophet who could see the future. By 2012, around 400
Look, it looks just like Myanmar.
Ready to do whatever she commanded.
Look, this is Boy Boomer in like a couple more years.
The nuclear apocalypse is home.
The Jesuits are gonna nuke everyone, you guys, with Gematriah.
A small island.
We have to move to Myanmar.
She called it the promised land.
We can get sports gambling there. It's safe.
She ordered her followers to sell everything they own.
Members typically will sell their family's assets. They would hand over, hundreds of
There's
thousands.
going to be a devastation in Washington, D.C. on 6/11.
Grace Road crew.
And it's going to be Jesuits, most likely Jesuits.
In farming, construction, supermarkets, restaurants, petrol stations, and even dental clinics.
Then she gave the order to move to Fiji. In 2014, hundreds
Dude, that's exactly like Doi Boomerang. Sweet Lady was a dentist in Myanmar.
Actually walking into captivity. Once they arrived, paradise didn't promise them. And followers were split up and assigned to work in Grace Road's businesses. They worked long hours for no pay.
The church members work like 6 days a week and they sleep like 4 or 5 hours a day.
Many developed long-term injuries because of the long hours. Others lost their lives.
Felipe died of a heart attack in her living quarters on Grace Road's farm. He attributes her death to stress and physical exhaustion.
The work wasn't the most painful aspect of the cult. It was Shin's punishment rituals. She held violent threshing sessions where she hit followers as a form of discipline. She called these meetings threshing sessions. Shin even filmed herself doing it. She made them believe that the violence purified.
That's fucking Sweet Lady in another couple, just another couple more years of Gematriah.
Escape was nearly impossible. The cult leaders.
Maybe this year. I mean, that's a recent prediction.
Went to, pack my computer, my laptop, it was gone. I realized my passport was gone.
Their phones and laptops were also seized. They were trapped on an island with no way out. And the police in Fiji didn't interfere. Grace Road owned many businesses there, and she had strong connections in the country. She was
you guys ever heard of any of these cults at all?
Seemed hopeless. Then the South Korean authorities found out what was going on. Although Shin's followers were in Fiji, they were still South Korean citizens. In 2018, footage leaked showing Shin.
Sorry, these documentaries are a little bit long, but I wanted to share them on my channel.
Videos emerged showing her beating followers and cutting off
I think it's important to warn people about these type of cults online.
South Korea launched an investigation. Later that year, Shin was arrested at an airport.
Founder Shin Ok-ju was arrested in 2018 after returning to South Korea and later sentenced to prison on charges of violence and brainwashing.
She was charged with holding 400 followers captive. The South Korean court sentenced her to 6 years behind bars. Many believe it was the end of Grace.
There's like a common theme with all these cults. They use conspiracy theories to get a bunch of people in their groups, and then they have a prediction, and then they're like, we gotta move to Myanmar or some shit.
Some locals even
pretty much
the cult runs the country. This next chapter is about a cult that tried to end thousands of people. Omniscient Rikyo. In the 1980s, people joined a group to learn meditation and inner peace.
Wait till you guys see the video that I got about the Hermetic order of the
members started making chemical weapons. Their goal was to use them on thousands of innocent people. This
Yo,
is
what's
the story
good?
of how a
Bubble
yoga
Goop
teacher
Gematria, yo, salute.
It all began
Hell yeah. Sorry, I'm just roasting a bowl with you guys. We're just burning it down. Look how goofy these motherfuckers look.
Like the other yoga teachers around, he had supernatural powers. Some followers said
Look at this motherfucker. Look, unbelievable.
Others believed he could heal people.
That's Snitcher. That's Fat Snitchered in a couple more years.
Give those same powers to others.
To transfer spiritual power over to
Dude, don't these people remind you of the Gematria community cult people?
Turned into a community. That community.
Look, they start cooking up like hydrogen bombs and shit. Like,
at
unbelievable.
its peak, with a truly global movement with tens of thousands of followers.
They meditated, donated money, and followed his teachings closely.
Buy gambling. Buy my gambling.
Their wealthy possessions to
Ooh, buy my. You buy fucking yoga and Gematria.
In 1990, Asahara began preaching about the end of the world. He warned that a nuclear war was coming to wipe out humanity. The world would be thrown into chaos. The only way to survive was to prepare. The cult began building secret compounds around Japan. Inside, they stockpiled all kinds of weapons. They even built a facility to produce toxic chemicals. Asahara said it was for defense, but in truth, it was preparation for an attack. Members were also forced to undergo something called survival training. Members would be subjected to prolonged submersion underwater and even substance abuse. The cult never questioned its leader. They worshipped him like a saint. That blind devotion made it easy for him to push them toward violence. Over time, the cult gained a dark reputation. The cult's doomsday prophecy attracted unwanted attention. Former members came forward with disturbing stories. Newspapers published negative reports. Anti-cult organizations flagged the group as a the cult didn't appreciate the negative attention, so they suddenly began targeting their critics. Some were beat, others were sprayed with toxic chemicals. In one tragic case, the cult ended a lawyer and 2 members of his family. They targeted that lawyer because he represented families whose children had been drawn into the cult. The cult's hitmen did a good job covering their tracks, so the crimes couldn't be traced back to them, but they still made mistakes.
This is George from Dallas.
Oh, brother, really?
He just needs a domain name.
I can't skip these goddamn ads.
But wait, George from Baltimore wants it too. And George from
They're
Albuquerque.
probably gonna, you know what I gotta do is, I just gotta like block the fucking screen or some shit like that when they goes into the ads. And then look at what you guys are talking about.
Reid Hoffman has been right about every single tech trend for the past 25 years, and he says the way we use
They're gonna try to strike me for that shit.
Shattered enough proof. Officers planned to raid the cult's compound in March 1995. Somehow, Asahara found out, so he decided to strike first. The cult planned to end as many policemen as possible. Their weapon of choice was sarin gas, a lethal nerve agent. They needed a place with the highest number of police on duty. They chose a busy subway terminal.
You guys think Zach would fucking have like plans just like hooking up shit like sarin gas? Or targeting the Jesuits?
Within minutes, the air became toxic.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
14 passed away. Police quickly connected it to the cult. Within weeks, multiple top members were
like you go run around and teach Gematria with the fucking bag, and then the next thing you know, like the other Gematrians are like, hey, look what we got, you want some?
They were executed by 2018. The story is that
we're gonna fucking K-word Christians and Jesuits with Zachary K. Hubbard.
The reports claim it's now run by Asahara's son. They no longer preach doomsday scenarios. The cult is now a yoga and spiritual center in Tokyo, just like it began in the 1980s. This next cult sometimes had its members pay up to $1 million.
Jesus Christ.
Scientology.
Oh, everybody, you guys know this one.
Million members in
you guys know this one.
For context, that's roughly the population of a
you guys know the Gematria cult knows this one.
And self-improvement.
Everybody knows L. Ron Hubbard.
Scientology was founded by L. Ron Hubbard. In the 1950s, Hubbard was a struggling science fiction novelist. He used his imagination to make up stories about aliens and intergalactic wars. However, Hubbard was broke. Writing novels wasn't paying bills, so he reinvented himself. In 1954, he launched Scientology in Los Angeles. He said it was a religion religion that could help people unlock their potential.
Presents itself to the public as a spiritual organization, a religion even, that exists to help people improve themselves.
And behind that positive mission were strange beliefs. Hubbard taught that 75 million years ago, billions of aliens lived on Earth. However, a catastrophic event ended them. Their physical bodies were destroyed, but their spirits were still hovering on Earth. And those spirits latched onto humans. According to Hubbard, those spirits were the cause of problems like anxiety, depression, and addiction. That's where Scientology entered the picture. Hubbard created a process to detach those spirits from humans. He called it auditing.
Engage in auditing sessions, a practice that involves recounting one's past traumas to a member of the Scientology clergy.
These sessions resembled a regular therapy, but Hubbard claimed that they were scientific procedures, and they were most definitely not cheap.
Achieving clear status typically costs between $30,000 and $50,000.
By the time a member was declared clear, they already spent a fortune. That wasn't the end of it. After auditing, members were told to buy advanced courses. These courses promised higher spiritual powers, including telepathy, but they were even more expensive.
Gematria expert. The highest level gematria expert.
$500,000 to $1 million.
Scientology costs.
You guys see that fraud Arthur came into fucking Badger stream earlier? Gematria
Scientology
expert.
members lived under strict rules. They were discouraged from spending time with non-members. Their social circle was made up of Scientologists only.
Aside from I knew very few people who were not Scientologists.
At the center of the organization was a special group known as the Sea Organization, or Sea Org. They had even stricter rules. For instance, Sea Org members signed contracts to serve the church for eternity.
At just 7 years of age, she signed a contract committing her to 1 billion years with the church.
Sea Org members worked for the cult full-time. Their duties ranged from construction to cooking to landscaping. The working conditions were brutal.
Talk, urinate, or sit. And you have 15 or 16 hours of work a day. Interspersed.
Leaving was nearly impossible. Those who tried were reportedly stopped, harassed, or sued.
Or to leave Scientology, they face hounding and harassment.
For a private investigator investigating you on practices against the Church of Scientology.
Over time, stories about Scientology's extreme rules spread. Former members described forced labor, isolation, and financial pressure. Many took Scientology to court. Some countries even banned the group. As the backlash grew, Scientology became secretive. Members were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements before taking part in certain activities.
Members need to sign some things before they can talk about it, some non-disclosure type forms.
Despite countless allegations of manipulation, coercion, and holding people against their will, Scientology has never been shut down. In fact, it's only grown stronger. Today, Scientology is worth an estimated $2 billion. It reportedly has members in 159 countries. The founder, L. Ron Hubbard, passed away.
Well, I saw the Vatican on
His
that
teachings
list.
still guide the group. The leadership has changed, but the systems remain the same. Scientology promises healing and light, but for many, it still delivers fear and control. This next cult was so extreme that SWAT teams had to be called in to rescue children. Kashi Ashram. Most cults use fear to control their followers. Majaya didn't need fear. She used charisma.
And you guys see
When I met Ma, I felt like she had something that was resonated in me. I fell in love.
The cult began in 1972 when
You
Majaya
see it
claimed
better
she
with the
had
light
a
or
vision
no?
of Jesus. Jesus allegedly told her that all religions were equal. That message changed her life. She began teaching classes about unity, love, and tolerance among religions. People were mesmerized by her.
The minute I saw her, I thought, this is my teacher. And I'm going to be with her for the rest of my life.
Within a few years, Ma bought land in Florida and built a community called Kashi Ashram. About 150 followers moved into the retreat with her. In the beginning, many said they had never been happier.
Since I have moved here, my life has been so much richer than it ever was. I don't want to leave here.
It was supposed to be a community, but soon Majaya started treating it like her kingdom. Majaya started with small demands. She controlled which haircut her followers got and how they dressed. Over time, she started choosing who they could marry. Ma didn't just give suggestions, she arranged the marriages herself. The problem was that in many cases, it was between people who barely knew each other. She also pressured married couples to have children. When those kids were born, she claimed them as her own. I mean, she literally made herself their legal mother.
She coerced four mothers into signing their children away to her
by falsifying their birth certificates.
That meant parents who left the cult couldn't get their children.
Dude, that's probably what the quacks did.
Some desperate parents turned to the police for help. In one case, a SWAT team had to intervene to retrieve children from their compound. Ma also demanded donations from her followers. Followers gave her hundreds of thousands of dollars, believing it was going to charity. Instead, it funded her luxury lifestyle, expensive clothes, jewelry, and cosmetic surgeries. She was also addicted to gambling. Witnesses said she could lose $30,000 in one night at a casino. Then her most dangerous habit began to take its toll. Majaya used substances, and over time it made her very erratic. She would lose her temper and assault followers. One man was hospitalized. Others were left with scars. As violence escalated, members began to leave. They went straight to the police and the press, but before Ma could face the law, tragedy struck. In April 2012, she passed away from cancer. But the cult didn't collapse. It still operates today on the same Florida property she once ruled. They offer yoga classes, spiritual lectures, and retreats. The things are reportedly far more peaceful than they used to be. This next cult encouraged its followers to become stalkers. Twin Flames Universe. There are millions of people around the world searching for true love. This cult took that crazy weird cult.
This is tied to Gematria, I
think. That it could connect them with their soulmates, even if it meant destroying their lives to do it. The Twin Flames cult was founded by a couple named Jeff and Julia around 2014.
One of these weirdos from the Gematria community that I used to know, like, said some weird ass shit to me about like twin flames and all this shit. And I was like, what the fuck?
You were designed for
fuck out here.
by God to be your eternal companion.
They called this person a twin flame, and they made more and more videos promoting this idea of twin flames. Eventually, it caught on.
This is like the same thing as what Zach has on his Mighty Networks, the little dating fucking
watching
thing.
them and commenting.
Now that people believed in twin flames, the new question was how to find theirs. That's when the manipulation started. By 2017, Jeff and Julia created Twin Flames Universe, a company selling courses to help people find their divine partner. The courses cost anywhere from $111 to $8,888. People didn't just buy the courses, they joined a growing community. It was full of people desperate to find love, and they looked up to Jeff and Julia as gurus. Members were encouraged to recruit others. They reportedly targeted people with past heartbreak. The company's website was full of success stories. Dozens of couples claimed they found their twin flames. The use of success stories encouraged more people to get the courses. Soon, a Twin Flames Universe was flush with cash.
By 2019, Jeff claimed the organization was worth nearly $2 million.
But behind the polished image and love stories, something much darker was forming. Once money and fame entered the picture, the tone changed. Jeff and Julia stopped acting like mentors. They became rulers. They told followers to cut off family and friends who didn't support the group. Most obeyed. Then came a disturbing new rule. Jeff and Julia began assigning every member their true twin flame. Sometimes the match was another follower. Other times it was someone outside the group, someone who didn't even know they had been chosen. And if that person wasn't interested, Jeff and Julia said it didn't matter.
Jeff Devine instructed members to seemingly pursue their twin flames regardless of interest or existing relationships.
And followers took that advice to heart. They hunted down anyone whom they believed was meant for them.
I've heard of many cases of people stalking their twin flames.
In one case, a woman recounted in a 2017 Facebook post that her supposed twin flame called her a stalker and threatened police action.
Instead of telling them to stop, Jeff and Julia encouraged them to keep going.
It doesn't matter if they block you or even take out a restraining order. Jeff and Shaylia instruct you.
Dude, you know what the craziest thing about this is that this is how the fucking Gematria
Sometimes Jeff and Julia assigned followers of the same sex as twin flames. When that happened, one member was allegedly ordered to transition genders so that the pairing would fit. Those who refused to change were exiled. For years, these stories flew under the radar. The cult kept growing.
Twin Flames Universe has grown from a few hundred members in 2017 to tens of thousands of members around the globe.
As their numbers increased, so did their online presence. More people found them through YouTube, social media, and word of mouth. But the more visible they became, the harder it was to hide what was really going on. At the peak of their success, their empire took a major hit, and it was because of Netflix. In 2023, Netflix released a documentary titled Escaping Twin Flames. It exposed everything, the manipulation, the forced transitions, and the psychological control. The series went viral. Soon, police took notice, and they began investigating the group.
Authorities in Michigan have raided 2 properties linked to the controversial group Twin Flames Universe.
As of January 2026, the case is still ongoing. Despite global backlash and countless testimonies from ex-members, the cult is still very active. They're still selling courses, still preaching, and still promising eternal love. But for many who followed them, the only thing the cult delivered was heartbreak. This next cult currently has around 12 billion members right now. Happy Science. The Happy Science cult became famous for a strange reason. Its leader claimed he could talk to the spirits of deceased celebrities. His name was Ryan.
Listen to this. This is
that
crazy.
claim turned him into a multi-billionaire cult leader.
Talking about, really, this guy really, he talks about deceased celebrities. That's how he convinces the cult people to follow him, really.
The ability to channel spirits.
Channel spirits of the dead, specifically dead, famous people.
To are John Lennon,
Dude, that sounds familiar.
and comic book legend Stan Lee.
He called these channeling sessions spiritual interviews. He performed them publicly, often in front of journalists.
In front of journalists?
These spirits, Okawa revealed secrets of the universe.
Dude, he's like he found the fucking Chinese Zachary K. Hubbard,
Creatures and
guys.
extraterrestrials. He also claimed these entities were responsible for Earth's problems.
Also, one of the reasons why there are many wars on Earth and why racial conflicts see no end is because reptilians, or reptile-like space people.
During another channeling session,
Really?
he said
That's
he
just
was
conspiracy theories. It's like the exact same shit.
That's right.
The reptilians are killing them with Gematriah, the famous people. Quack.
Jesus, Allah, and Moses combined.
He was essentially saying he was God. But these ideas landed at the perfect time in Japan. In the 1980s, the New Age movement was very popular in Japan. People were searching for spiritual answers to everyday problems. Okawa's blend of religion, pop culture, and science fiction resonated with people. So in 1986, he officially founded Happy Science in Tokyo. Okawa became a
Dude, it kind of reminds you of Scientology.
Huge attention. To grow his influence, he wrote books. He wrote about reptilians,
He wrote
reincarnation,
reptile
cosmic
fucking
forces.
Jesuit
One
books.
book even listed types of aliens. People bought the books and they bought into his ideas. Over time, he reportedly wrote over 3,000 books.
Okawa claimed the Guinness World Record for the most books written in 1 year by one person.
He wrote a bunch of
Science also
Gematria
produced
books.
anime films to promote their beliefs. All these made the cult wealthy.
Happy Science's annual income has been gauged at $45 million.
First, it's the
Dude,
truth.
Quacky only wrote one fucking book.
With a friend.
Quacky only has 2 fake Gematria books. You know?
Recognizing signs of stress is the first step to unloading what's causing them.
Jesus Christ. I gotta cover up the commercials because I can't skip them on the TV system.
Experian can and could help me easily cancel the ones I don't need. Get the Experian
Unbelievable.
app now. Experian.
Skip it now.
Up Studio is here. The ultimate universe of creators.
Now I can skip it.
For years, many considered Happy Science a strange but harmless group. They were mostly talking about aliens and lizard people. Then Okawa began talking about politics, and overnight his ideas suddenly became dangerous. As Okawa gained influence, he suddenly had a lot to say about politics, health, and other national issues. He urged the Japanese government to prepare for war. He even suggested dropping nukes on neighboring countries. When the COVID pandemic hit, Happy Science claimed that the virus was caused by UFOs. To cure it, they sold a spiritual vaccine, which was a set of prayers and rituals to expel spirits. The cult said it worked, but obviously there was no evidence for it. Happy Science expanded even further. They launched
That's
their own
kind of like
religion party in Japan.
Gematria. They're
Today,
like,
the cult
I
allegedly
have
has over 12
Gematria. It's
members in over 170 countries. No one knows how large they're going to get. For now, they continue spreading Okawa's bizarre ideas. This next cult leader claimed that she created the universe, and a lot of people.
We're stopping Agenda 21. We're stopping,
This cult was founded by Amy Carlson. Her followers
stopping
believed something
fucking-
extraordinary. But Amy was the creator of the universe. They also believed that she could travel between dimensions and heal people with her mind. But before she became Mother God, Amy worked at
stopping Operation 201 dead in its tracks, you guys.
And 3 kids. In the early 2000s, she became fascinated by New Age spirituality. She spent hours online reading about healing, ascension, and self-discovery.
Dude, this is a weirdo ass thing too. This one is hella weird too. Like,
which is a strange mix of spirituality and conspiracy.
there's some similar
She
stuff
was
in here
19
too.
billion years old and the creator of the universe.
Yeah, that
From
shit.
there, we began creating
We're not, it's
universes and
19 or
planets.
She said her
19
mission was to
billion.
help humanity ascend from
When we
one dimension
created the
to another.
universe
Over
or
time,
whatever,
her beliefs
they're like the
became
universe
more She talked about the Illuminati,
was sprayed out of the
aliens,
Kabbalah
and
by
spaceships.
fucking in letters and numbers or
Receive
whatever.
telepathic message at 10:50.
Dude, this is the exact same shit as what what's in Quacky's book.
On one of Jupiter's moons.
Amy also rejected modern medicine, calling it 3D medicine.
They refuse to call traditional 3D medicine because she's in 5D, she's a god.
Instead, Amy offered her own healing services. She claimed to perform spiritual surgeries. That meant using her mind.
Dude,
to
these are like
make
conspiracy
energy
theorists, you
on
guys.
Spiritual surgery where she could
You guys see like the overlap between all this?
and heal the brain and then put it
Like
back
these
in
are like
body.
the conspiracy theorist quacks.
Cancer, Lyme disease, and autism. Her videos gained thousands of views. Her followers started calling her Mother God. By 2014, Amy left her old life behind. She moved to a ranch in Colorado.
Her name's Amy? Dude, is that Amy cracking code?
A group called Love's One.
Dude, is that fucking Amy Crackhead the Code?
Followers underestimated how hard it was to
Does that lady from that cult in Gematria like
on the ranch had to
unbelievable?
live by Mother God's rules. The first rule was isolation. Amy made everyone cut ties with their families. Lovers One called
Is it
was now
fucking Amy Crackhead the Code?
Then she made them work long hours on the ranch.
Jesus Christ.
When they weren't working,
She's like, I'm not
they made
fat.
videos to promote Amy's products. They sold candles, crystals, supplements, and healing sessions. Business
I've heard talk about money in certain accounts. I'm blown away. She claimed one of them was $400,000.
She's probably doing Gematria, you know?
the life inside the ranch was getting worse. Amy began drinking heavily. She yelled at followers and punished those who disobeyed. Her rejection of modern medicine also became more extreme. No one was allowed to visit the doctor no matter the condition. Amy didn't realize that those same ideas would cost her her life. Whenever one of Amy's followers got sick, she told them to take colloidal silver. It's basically a liquid with silver particles. However, it's promoted on the internet as a dietary supplement. But the FDA warns that it's unsafe to drink. But Amy said it could cure diseases. She was wrong.
Carlson herself took excessive amounts of colloidal silver.
After years of taking it, Amy's body.
That's a common thing in the realm of conspiracy theory.
At one point, she begged her followers to take her to the hospital.
There's been moments where mom has asked us to take
You guys remember that shit from fucking like Alex Jones? They're like, buy my colloidal silver, guys. Colloidal silver, 10% sales discount.
So absolutely not.
By early 2021, Amy's body gave out and she passed.
You remember like back in the day, all the old conspiracy theories? It's like all the conspiracy theorists push all this kind of shit.
And in the middle of the house, they
They're
found
like,
a
we only
shrine.
eat fruit and bananas,
Amy's
and we
mummified
like
body
fucking
placed
taking
at the center of an altar.
Her body remained indoors for weeks. In April 2021,
Look, she turned so purple and blue and died, and they tied her up in like
sleeping bag
a
covered
sleeping.
in
She
crystals.
mummified herself in a sleeping bag with colloidal silver, and probably doing Gematria.
7 members were arrested for the incident. The charges.
There was like hella weirdos left around in the room
Her
afterwards.
most devoted followers renamed it 5D Full Disclosure. They still post online selling healing products and spreading Amy's teachings. These cults thrive because people stop.
These are cults online. These are internet.
Remember,
big internet YouTube channel communities and stuff.
Wait, before you guys go, make sure you guys watch part 1.
It's unbelievable. So there was that one that I found, and then there's this one. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this one's even more interesting. And this one's more, this one is like directly, this one is directly regarding Gematria exactly. So, and your rhetoric of Gematria. So listen carefully, truth seekers.
Should not exist.
Listen very carefully, Gematria.
William Wynne Westcott in 1887, and there is a document that should not exist. It appeared in the possession of a London Freemason named William Wynne Westcott in 1887, and it changed the course of Western occultism more completely than any single object since the printing press made forbidden books available to people who had no business reading them. The document was a collection of cipher manuscripts, 60 folios of densely written text encoded in a simple alphanumeric substitution cipher that Westcott and his colleagues cracked without great difficulty. What the decipherment revealed were the outlines of a ritual system, a graded initiatory structure for a magical order of a kind that had not existed in England before, drawing on Kabbalah, Hermeticism, astrology, tarot, alchemy, and the Enochian angel magic of John Dee and Edward Kelly. Attached to the manuscript was a letter with a German address, a name, and an invitation. The bearer of these documents was authorized to establish a lodge of the order in England and should write to a woman in Stuttgart named Anna Sprengel to receive further materials and warrant. Westcott wrote to Anna Sprengel, or at least he claimed he did. Whether Anna Sprengel existed is a question that was already being asked.
So what I want to point out here is that this gematria that you guys are claiming that you got from Aleister Crowley,
what is certain is that Westcott,
in the order of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. But wait a second, you said it was the Jesuits. Which one is it? Is it the... This is what I'm confused. This is where I'm confused about your gematria rhetoric.
Temple of the Hermetic Order of the
Is that cipher the ones that you guys are doing? Is that what you're doing?
Built on that possibly fraudulent foundation became...
Is this what the quacks are into?
The most intellectually serious and practical...
And why, if this is what they're talking about, their Hermetic Order of the Golden Gematria or whatever,
included some of the most
how come these individuals that are doing this and that did all this aren't Jesuits? These aren't the Jesuits.
Western occult organization of the 20th century.
These occult groups, this occult group is not the Jesuits.
Psychology and the theory of the imagination is still being traced a century and a half.
And your gematria doesn't match the fucking cipher that they do.
The explosive conflict.
Or the way they do it or anything. Even what they had isn't really that legit if you listen carefully.
Reads like a Victorian novel.
Listen how quacky this shit is.
Too much Aleister Crowley. This is the story of the Golden Dawn. All of it. To understand why the Golden Dawn appeared when it did, in the London...
How is the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn the Jesuits?
The occult tradition in Britain over the preceding 2 centuries. The great Renaissance synthesis of magic, philosophy, and natural science. The tradition that had produced John Dee's...
They're doing all this shit in, like, English.
The elaborate magical
out
systems
of Britain. Like, unbelievable.
Had been
the quacks are like, it's the Jesuits doing gematria.
By the rise of what we now call the scientific revolution. The Royal Society, founded in 1660, drew a sharp line between legitimate natural inquiry and what it called superstition. And magic fell definitively on the wrong side of that line. The educated classes of Britain and Europe who had, in the 16th century, debated alchemy and astrology...
I think the quacks already missed, like, some of the meat and potatoes of what they actually showed. It's just goes straight over their head. Like, they don't realize
by the 18th century,
that your boy Zach is not your boy, but, you know, their homie Zach is just lying to them about all this esoteric knowledge, straight up. This is the real story of what Zach claims he's teaching you about.
Who understood that something had been lost when the Renaissance magical tradition was abandoned, but who had no living community of practice through which to recover it. That changed in the 19th century, and it changed because of a collision between 2 forces that had not previously been in contact with each other. The first was Romanticism, the cultural movement that began in the 1790s as a reaction against Enlightenment.
Zachary K. Hubbard is dying of leukemia.
Decades insisting on the reality and importance of everything that rationalism had excluded: imagination, feeling, mystery.
Look, these are the Jesuits, you guys. These are the Jesuits doing the gematria.
Invisible forces that could be apprehended through art
what they
and
look
intuition.
like.
rather than through experiment and logic. The Romantic poets and novelists were not occultists in any technical sense, but they rehabilitated the vocabulary and the sensibility that made occultism possible. When William Blake drew his cosmological diagrams and wrote about the divine imagination as the
they all
only true
start doing
reality,
Gematria,
when
like,
Coleridge wrote about the
unbelievable.
supernatural as a legitimate subject for serious poetry, Cluster, when Shelley translated passages of Plato with genuine philosophical engagement, they were preparing the cultural ground for a generation that would take the next step.
This is what the occult was actually doing, and that was their actual cipher that it showed in the beginning.
The second
and like,
force was
none of this
Scottish.
shit matches
The
what the
19th
quacks
century was
claim.
the great age of the discovery and translation of ancient religious and philosophical texts that had been inaccessible to European readers since the fall of the ancient world.
This is what I've been
The Vedas
saying
and
what they do.
Upanishads
They
were
fucking
translated
go, they
into
went
English
around,
and German.
they stole
The
knowledge
Zoroastrian
from
Avesta
religion,
was made available to
and
Western
then they like
scholars. The Egyptian hieroglyphs were deciphered
encapsulated
by
it all in a
Shahjahan
vial
in 1822,
or some shit.
opening the entire treasury of ancient Egyptian religious writing to anyone who could read the decipherments, mods. The Neoplatonic philosophers, particularly Plotinus and Iamblichus and Porphyry, were translated and studied with new seriousness. The Hermetic texts, long known in the Renaissance versions that Cosimo de' Medici had commissioned in the 1460s, were studied afresh in the context of the new scholarship on ancient religion. And crucially,
Look, they're doing
Kabbalah
witchcraft.
became available in serious
Look,
scholarly
literally, they're
translations
doing
for the first
witchcraft.
time. Most important,
That dude, that fake gematria stuff they're doing is literally witchcraft. Listen carefully.
Eliphas Levi, who published his Dogma and Ritual of High Magic in 1854 and his History of Magic in 1860, and who synthesized Kabbalah, Tarot, Hermeticism, and ritual magic into a comprehensive system that was not quite accurate in any of its historical claims, but was enormously
They made a system that wasn't historically accurate in any of its claims.
Audience, that all of these traditions could be understood as parts of a single coherent whole. Eliphas Levi, whose real name was Alphonse Louis Constant, was a failed Catholic seminarian from Paris.
That's where they picked up the gematria from, was from religion.
Universal
and then they like, because they stole a bunch of shit from all kinds of religion.
The world's religious and philosophical systems.
And they scrambled it all together, and gematria is one of those things.
Every age had transmitted through symbols and allegories, while the uninitiated masses received.
They tried to scramble it into every other language. I mean, that's
Should
ridiculous.
be articulated in various
They went and
forms
stole
and
shit from religions, and then
It's
they
given
tried to
new
scramble it all
agency,
together and do
new
gematria in every
flood
language.
of comparative religious scholarship that was making ancient texts available.
And it doesn't have any
throughout the 19th
historical,
century.
factual
Levi
basis.
synthesized everything he could
They
get his hands on
synthesized
and
everything
presented
they
it
could
in
get
a
their
style
fucking
that
hands on.
managed to be both learned and thrilling, and his books circulated.
That
throughout
synthesized
the
means they
occult
made it
underground
fake.
of Victorian Britain with
They faked it.
extraordinary effect. By
They
the time
saw
Westcott
some
and
religion
Matthews began
stuff and they
designing
couldn't
the
understand it
Golden
completely,
curriculum,
and then they
Levi's
made it in
framework
up
was the
into
common
whatever they
intellectual
wanted it to
property
be.
of every serious student of the occult.
Just like fake gematria. But fake gematria is worse, because we're like, fake gematria is like 50 years, 100 years down the rat hole from this shit.
Possible a project
Which was
that
bad
none
enough.
of them could have achieved alone, or one whose incompatible temperaments ensured that the organization they built could not survive the three of them indefinitely. William Wynne Westcott was a London coroner, a man of precise and methodical intelligence, who brought to the Golden Dawn the organizational discipline and the air of professional respectability that it needed to attract the kind of membership it aspired to. He was
Dude, this was such a great little documentary video that I saw. I had to share it. I was like, no, this is like,
and a man who
this is regarding the gematria rhetoric of the occult knowledge.
The Victorian educated class it was trying to recruit. He was the one who obtained the cipher manuscripts. He was the one who wrote, or claimed to write.
So these people were trying to translate gematria into fucking English and other languages.
Yes, the man who handled correspondence and kept records and made sure the institutional machinery worked. He was also
And the significance of that is that they're the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which is not the Jesuits. That's not the Jesuits. The fuck? They're like, this is ancient magical knowledge of the Jesuits in English.
He was a man of consuming theatrical
They're like, Gematria is English now.
towering intellectual energy, complete financial incompetence, and an absolute certainty that he was one of the most important occultists who had ever lived.
And no, don't even get it twisted about what I'm saying in my channel.
Without distinction.
There's no, like, me and Zach are saying the same thing from different angles. Oh, no. Don't get it twisted. That motherfucker is straight up lying to you about what this shit actually
Having
is.
produced an English translation
Straight
of
up.
a selection of Kabbalistic texts published as the Kabbalah Unveiled in 1887. The year before
Boy,
the
Zach
Golden
is
Dawn was
straight up
founded,
lying to
he'd
you
studied
about
the
every
Tarot
single
deeply enough to
fucking,
produce a system of
every
correspondence
shred of proof of evidence of any of the shit
paths
he's
on the
lying about.
Kabbalistic tree of life that became standard within the order. He spoke French, translated grimoires from Latin and French, and had a genuine gift for ritual design, an ability to take disparate symbolic and ceremonial elements and synthesize them into dramatic ritual experiences that affected participants in ways they found difficult to explain in purely theatrical terms. Mathers was also, in the words of people who knew him well, impossible. He had a temper that could turn violent. He had a grandiosity that expanded with every year he spent inside a system that recognized his genius and gave him authority.
Yeah, I agree.
He was generous to the point of recklessness, with money that was not his and miserly about sharing credit for ideas that had been collaborative. He believed, with increasing intensity as the years went on, that he was in direct communication with a group of secret chiefs.
Dude, this guy acts exactly like Quacky.
Who
It
directed the
sounds
work
like,
of the
from the
order
sound of that.
from somewhere in Europe or possibly beyond the physical plane entirely, and who had given him specific instructions and specific authority that superseded the authority of any other person or governance structure within the organization. He married Mina Bergson, a French artist and intellectual who was the sister of the philosopher Henri Bergson, and the two of them formed a partnership
this shit's
that
like
was both
way over
personal
their
and
heads.
magically intense,
They don't even understand
and
what I'm saying.
eventually
That's
relocated
crazy.
to Paris, where Mathers would spend the most
that's what the
productive
statue
and most
represents.
destructive years of his life running the Golden Dawn from a distance, while its London membership grew
Yeah, the order, the
increasingly
Hermetic Order
resentful
of the
of his
Golden Dawn,
absence
they were
and his
manifesting the
demands.
sun's
The
light.
third founder,
That's what the
William
statue
Robert
represents.
Woodman,
Right.
was the oldest of the three and died in 1891. Only 3
Yeah, there's a
years
big
after the
difference
war was
between
founded.
what the occult
Before the
actually
major
is and what the
concepts
quacks
that
are
define
claiming
the
that it
Golden
is.
Dawn's history had developed. He was a retired army surgeon and a senior figure in several Masonic and Rosicrucian organizations, and his primary contribution to the Golden Dawn
Look, they
was
were
the
studying
institutional
Hebrew and then
legitimacy
trying
of
to
his
like
established
scramble
position
it, like
in the occult
doing black
fraternal
magic
world
and shit and
provided.
scrambling it
Yeah,
into
he's the least
English. Like,
colourful of the three
unbelievable.
founders, and fittingly the least remembered.
These aren't
What
the
three
Jesuits.
founders built in the years
Y'all.
between 1888 and 1891
Hey, y'all,
was a complete
Jesuits are
initiatory
doing
system of
Gematria.
magical training that has no genuine precedent
It's
in
from
the
Alistair
English
Crowley
occult
and
tradition.
fucking
The
Manly P.
Golden
Hall.
Dawn was
Quack!
organized into two orders, the outer order and the inner order, and the initiatory grades were mapped onto the Kabbalistic
Was it
tree of
Manly
life.
P. Hall part of the
With
fucking
lowest
Order of the
grades at
Golden Dawn
bottom of
too,
the
or
tree and
no?
the
He wasn't
highest.
up that high in the occult. He
The
was just
outer
like
order
little
consisted
Mason,
of
or what?
5 grades.
Does anybody know?
Neophyte, Zealot,
Do you guys know if the
Theoricus,
that other
Practicus,
quack Manly
and
P. Hall was a member of the
Each grade
Hermetic Order of the
corresponded
Golden
to
Dawn,
one
or
of
did
the
they
several
just have
from the
libraries of
lower
books
portion of
full
the
of
tree
shit
of
about it?
life? And each grade's curriculum introduced the student to a specific body of knowledge and practice corresponding to that Sephira's qualities. The inner order, which was established
Look
in
at the Kabbalah with the
1892
Q.
and was called the Rosy Rubaiyat.
Look at the fucking
Crucis,
satanic ass
Ruby
Kabbalah with the
Rose
Q these
Cross of
motherfuckers
Gold,
made up. Look at that shit.
consisted of 3
Unbelievable.
grades corresponding
It's like the
to
Fruit
middle
Loop
Sephira
Rainbow
of the tree.
Kabbalah
And it
with
was
the
in
Q.
the inner order that the practical magical work of the order was conducted, as opposed to the largely theoretical.
Dude, that's the original rainbow shield.
The curriculum of the Golden Dawn's
That's the Kabbalah with the Q, you guys. The Aleister Crowley and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn made
organized Western esoteric context before.
Look, they tried to scramble Hebrew into English, you guys.
And its Kabbalistic correspondence.
So when you hear the quack say, oh, it's from the Kabbalah.
The structure of the Tree of Life.
That's what he's talking about, their rainbow shield and their fucking gods.
And to be able to trace the correspondences between the Sephiroth and the paths on the one hand, and the planets, the zodiacal signs, the elements, the Hebrew letters, the tarot cards, the colors, the divine
even the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn knows that Gematria is
geomantic figures on the other.
And they tried to scramble it into English. Like, unbelievable. And then the quack says it's the Jesuits are doing it. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is ridiculous. The quack just lies about Gematria. I know, I don't believe in groups to obtain knowledge. Yeah, that's a perfect example, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn cult that made up some fake-ass Gematria with Aleister Crowley. Why would you trust their knowledge? Because it's like admittedly fake. It doesn't match what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? And by the time they pass the fucking Gematria around, decades down the fucking rat chain of fucking Kabbalah or whatever the fuck, it turns into some fucking rat garbage fake Gematria. Even faker.
I'm making a Roblox game called Fist Fight. It's a cluster of action.
They were expected to understand the basic
Listen to what they want these people to know all this shit. Listen to this shit.
Tarot in the specific
they have to study the tarot.
That Mathers had developed, which was significantly different from the popular fortune-telling tradition that used the tarot as a divinatory tool, and which framed the tarot instead as a symbolic map of the structure of reality encoded in the language of the Kabbalah. And they were expected to master the construction and use of the magical implements that the Golden Dawn system required: the wand, the cup, the sword, and the pentacle, each corresponding to one of the four elements and to a specific mode of magical will. This was not light reading. The grade papers and knowledge.
So when they did this,
each initiation ran to
the reason why these people don't like religion, because they took this from religion and then they applied it in a way that you're not supposed to do it this way.
Seriously, be examined on it before advancing to the next grade.
Like they're synthesizing something that's supposed to be natural, basically.
The Golden Dawn attracted the kind
they're
of
doing something really bad. Like, I don't know how to explain it.
This was itself attractive. This was not a Tea Party spiritualism circle. Yeah, it was not the vague Christian mysticism that sufficed for most of the
Tetragrammaton. Look, it's all on their shit, all the fucking Gematria rhetoric.
Education in a system that took the invisible seriously.
They're like, it used to be Hebrew, but we got a hold of it now, and we're putting it into English.
With both the dogmatic churches and the reductive materialism that were the only two available options in
this is like really evil, actually. This is against God.
The Golden Dawn's initiation.
Doing what these people are doing is like way fucking deep down the rat hole.
Not merely ceremonial formalities. The initiation into
doing this type of fake Gematria is way down the rat hole.
Through which every member of the order passed, placed the candidate in the position of the soul of the dead entering the Egyptian underworld, as blindfolded and led through a ritual space whose officers represented specific cosmic principles and whose words were drawn from the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead and from the symbolism of the Kabbalah simultaneously.
Yeah, don't ever trust one of these cults that like claim that they're teaching you the Kabbalah or whatever.
Building on the candidates'
because you don't know what they're actually talking about.
To create ritual experiences that were designed to produce genuine shifts in consciousness, genuine encounters with the symbolic forces that the Kabbalistic framework mapped. Whether they succeeded in this is a matter of testimony and subjective report, but the testimony is extensive and largely consistent. People who went through the Golden Dawn's initiations described them as genuine transformative experiences, not theatrical performances. The membership the order attracted in its first decade reads like an index of late Victorian and Edwardian cultural achievement. William Butler Yeats joined in 1890 and remained a member through expulsion and reinstatement in the order's various schisms and reconstitutions for decades. He rose to the inner order grade, conducted extensive magical work within the system, and engaged with the Golden Dawn's ideas in his poetry throughout his career, most visibly in A Vision, the extraordinary cosmological work he published in 1925 that drew heavily on Golden Dawn symbolism and methodology. Yeats took the order with the same seriousness he took everything else, and he was not a man who took things lightly. The actress and revolutionary Maud Gonne joined in 1891. She was one of the most celebrated figures in Irish nationalist
Look, they were studying the Kabbalah.
A woman Yeats loved obsessively
That's
for most of
actually
his
the
adult
Kabbalah.
life, and she brought to her membership of the Golden
That's one of the
Dawn
Kabbalahs,
the
maybe.
same fierce intensity she brought to everything. She and Yeats collaborated on magical workings together, and their relationship had a dimension that neither of them fully separated from the magical work of the order. She resigned in 1893, citing disagreements with the order's direction, but her passage through the Golden Dawn left traces in the ideas of both of them that lasted for decades. Algernon Blackwood, who would become one of the greatest writers of supernatural fiction in the English language, was a member. His stories, particularly those featuring the occult investigator John Silence, draw on Golden Dawn practice and symbolism in ways that are
Dude, this is funny
to
because
suggest firsthand
that fake Gematria
research.
show channel,
Arthur
the
Machen,
quack, Zachary
Welsh
J.
author
Hubbard,
whose short
says that the
fiction
Jesuits did
expanded
this.
the possibilities of horror and weird fiction, was a member. His novella The Great God Pan, published in 1894, is saturated.
Why does
with
Hubbard
golden
lie
dawn
about
ideas
this?
about
You ever
the
thought
thin
about that?
membrane
That's
between
what
the
exactly
world
what a cult
and the
would do.
dimensions of reality
That's what
that
cults
the
do.
order's
They lie about
practices
religion and
access.
esoteric
Mr.
knowledge.
Crowley joined in
They take it and
1898,
spin it into
was
weird,
refused advancement
like,
to the inner order
little
by
cipherings
London
or whatever.
adepts who regarded him as morally unfit.
It's the four
received
ciphers
that
of
advancement
English
from Mavis
Gematria
in
cult,
Paris,
basically,
over the
which is a
London
spin-off
membership's objections,
of this
and
shit.
precipitated the final crisis that destroyed the original order's organizational coherence. Florence Farr, the actress and theatre director who ran the Avenue Theatre in London and who worked closely with George Bernard Shaw, was one of the most senior and most respected members of the order, rising to the position of Primastratrix of the Isis Urania Temple. The diversity of the Golden Dawn's membership was not just a matter of individual celebrity.
Kinda looks like
the order was, for its time, remarkably
Sports
inclusive by
Gematria.
the standards of late Victorian associational culture. Women were admitted on equal terms with men, which was not the norm in the Masonic and Rosicrucian
Doesn't that kind of look like
organizations
SG?
from which the Golden Dawn drew its organizational precedents.
I'm just kidding.
Class boundaries were more permeable than in most Victorian institutions. What mattered within the order was not social standing, but genuine engagement with the work. And the work was rigorous.
Do you guys
enough that
understand how this
superficial
is not the
headship could reveal
Jesuits?
itself. The order at its peak had
Like your
somewhere
historical
between
fact of
100
your
and 300
basis of your
active
claims
members
of where you got your
across
Gematria
the
from.
original
For
ISIS
one, the
Urania
Gematria
in
doesn't
London
match.
and affiliated
For
to
two, the
designated
claim is
work,
Aleister Crowley in the
Bradford,
Hermetic
Western
Order of the
Superman,
Golden Dawn,
with a more
and your
loosely
Gematria
connected
doesn't
temple
match.
in Paris
And then
under
for
Mather's
two, they're not the
direct control.
Jesuits, by the
The
way.
system that Mathers and his colleagues constructed.
Oh, and by the
drew
way,
on an
Gematria was
extraordinary
Hebrew.
range
By
of
the way,
sources and
Gematria was, to
synthesized them
prove
with
what
a
I'm trying to show
coherence
here,
that was
Gematria, regardless if it was the
unprecedented
Hermetic
in
Order of the
writing.
Golden Dawn or the
Kabbalah
fucking
provided the
Jesuits,
structural skeleton.
Gematria
The
was
tree of
Hebrew
life
for
is the organizing
2,500
diagram onto
years
which everything
before
else was mapped. The Hermetic
this shit even
tradition,
existed.
specifically the
Before
body
the
of texts
Jesuits existed,
attributed to
it was
Hermestris
Hebrew.
Megistus that had been
Gematria was
available in
Hebrew
Latin
for the
since
entire
Renaissance.
time.
Hand
For
provided the
25,000
philosophical
years
framework.
before these
The
quack
understanding
fucking
that
cult
the visible
motherfuckers
world
came
was a
along.
reflection of an invisible
Or the
world.
Jesuits, or
Human
whatever.
being was a microcosm containing within itself all the qualities of the macrocosm. and that the practice
They're
of
not
magic
really
was
doing
essentially
Kabbalah. They
the
just
practice
made
of
up a
bringing the
fake Kabbalah.
microcosm into conscious
If
alignment
you make up
with
a
the
fake
forces of the
Kabbalah, does that mean you're doing
The
fucking
tarot,
Kabbalah?
specifically
No.
the 22 cards of the major arcana, were understood as a
If someone like this is
representation
like
of
exactly
22
like if
cards
what would happen if
collected in
someone
Sephiroth on
came
the
out
Tree
with a
of Life.
Kabbalah right
Each
now.
card
They're like, yeah, I
encoded
just made up a
symbolic
Kabbalah.
qualities
You guys
of
want to go
corresponding
transfer
card
all the
and
esoteric
form that
knowledge
could be
over to
used
my
for
Kabbalah now.
meditation,
It's the new
divination,
Kabbalah.
and magical
You don't want to buy
working.
my
The
Kabbalah?
astrological system within the Golden Dawn was
They just
elaborate
made up
and
a
highly
Kabbalah like
technical,
thousands of
it
years
going
later.
far beyond the popular sun sign astrology that was
They,
beginning to appear
do
in
they make a new
newspapers.
Kabbalah every
Members were
fucking year or
expected
what?
to understand the complete system of
Does anybody
planetary
know? Did they
laws,
make a new
the
brand new
dignities and
fucking
abilities of the
volume fucking
planets in the signs of the
2026 version of the
zodiac,
Kabbalah or
the
what?
meanings of the
Is that where the
houses,
Gematriahs
aspects
comes
between
from?
planets, and the system of
Which one of these
Hermetic
Kabbalahs
parts
actually
that
has the
inherited
A1,
from
B2,
medieval Islamic
C3
astronomy,
fucking 4-cipher
geomancy,
method
a
Gematria
system
in
of
it?
divination based on patterns of
Oh, none of
dots
them.
generated by
It's
a
actually
random
not in
process, and then
Your fake
interpreted
Gematria
through a
is
system
literally
of
not even in this
16
shit.
geomantic figures with planetary and elemental correspondences was taught as a complete divinatory system.
Look, this guy made up the same shit. This other Magi guy makes up a fucking complete divinatory system of fake Gematria, and his shit is some other type of fake
What if you could
Gematria.
trade
Like,
on this?
unbelievable.
This is calcium.
How's there all these quacks? How come there's all these Gematria quacks through history and none of them are Jesuits?
If you think the Fed will cut
They're
rates,
all like
you might
members of the
guess
occult
42
order.
cents. If it happens, that contract settles at $1.
The
You
Jesuits
just
are
made
the New
58
World
cents
Order.
a
How do we
share.
know the
If the
Hermetic
trade
Order of the
inflation
Golden
rate,
Dawn
elections,
isn't part of the
crypto
New,
prices,
that
even
isn't the New World
snowfall.
Order?
So yeah, you can literally trade the weather. And
Oh
it's
yeah, look,
regulated by the
Kalshi, look, it has the gambling app commercial, like, Jesus Christ.
If you already have opinions
They're
about
like, buy
it,
Kalshi and
you might as
fucking
well trade
gamble
them.
on Gematria. Watch, next thing you know, the quack's gonna be advertising.
Moderate to severe ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep.
And the Enochian system of
Rheumatoid colitis and fucking
which the
Gematria and
Golden Dawn
Kalshi.
had encountered through the manuscripts that had made their way into archival collections after Dee's death. Sister was incorporated
Look at this guy,
into
he
the
was
higher
doing some
grades of
fake
the order
fucking D.
as one of the most powerful
He made up
and
his
most
own
demanding
version of
elements
fucking
of the
some
entire
D.
curriculum. The Enochian integration was specifically the work of Mathers and his
He
wife
made up some
Moira,
other
who
John
spent
D.
years studying the D manuscripts and developing a working system.
Listen
from
to what
the
it says. He made up his own system off of D.
records that D had left. The Golden Dawn's Enochian system was not
It's the
identical to what D had
Enochian,
actually
the
done,
Enochian cipher,
partly because
guys.
Mathers did not have access to all of Dee's papers, and partly because he was developing a practical system for use in ritual, rather than a scholarly reconstruction of Dee's exact methods. The result was a hybrid, genuinely powerful in its own terms, that would eventually become the dominant form of Enochian practice in the 20th century, then used by Crowley and his successors,
Made up some
and by
fucking
virtually
Enochian
every
Gematria.
serious Western magical practitioner in the decades after the Golden Dawn's dissolution. The tension between Mathers in Paris and the London
Do
membership
you guys really
came to a
think
head
that the
in
four
years around
ciphers
the
of
turn the
Gematria
century,
is really
when it
in
came to a
English
head
is
with
really from
several
this
things
shit?
simultaneously. Mathers
Or is
had
it just
become
the
increasingly
concept?
autocratic. His claims to authority
You guys just
from
copied the
secret
concept
chiefs,
of
which had begun as a
Gematria
relatively minor
and tried to apply
eccentricity in
it
the
to
early
other
years of
shit
the
way
order,
later.
had expanded into a comprehensive doctrine according to which he was the sole legitimate channel for higher authority within the entire Golden
Unbelievable.
Dawn
So
system.
this guy's little
Any
cult
challenge
system
to his
fucking
decisions
took
was
over
therefore not
within
merely
the cult
insubordination,
for a little while.
but a defiance of the secret chiefs themselves. He had
They're like,
stopped
no,
visiting
you're not
London.
supposed to do the
He had
Gematria that way. He's like, ha 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 ha, no, this is the new Gematria.
He'd started
Basically,
demanding
within the
fees
cult.
and contributions that the London membership regarded as unreasonable, and he had admitted Aleister Crowley to the Second Order over the explicit objections of the London adepts, an action that the London membership regarded as both an insult to their judgment and a genuine
Aleister Crowley
danger
was
to
like
the
MI6
organization.
basically. He
Crowley
wasn't a
at this
Jesuit.
point was 24 years old. He had joined the Golden Dawn in 1890.
You know how we have like the CIA and then the Jays have like the Mossad, and then up in like England they have like the royalty and the crown and fucking they have the fucking MI6.
Behavior to have serious reservations. The reservations were reasonable.
They have the OTO and the fucking Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and Aleister Crowley.
Ever to engage with the Golden Dawn system, and he could absorb and deploy its material with a fluency that
The quack finds this shit from Aleister Crowley and he's like, aha! I knew it where the Jesuits got the Gematria from.
Accommodate. Personally contemptuous of anyone.
He finds this fucking Gematria. Really, think about what the quack claims. He finds this Gematria in Aleister Crowley, and he just assumes, he's like, aha! I got it. I found where the Jesuits are doing
He was the kind
Gematria.
of person who is an asset to an institution.
I found out it's
His
in
talents
Aleister
are
Crowley.
recognized and properly directed. and
Dude,
the
that doesn't even make
catastrophe
sense.
He feels blocked or disrespected. Mathers admitted him to the Second Order in Paris in 1900.
English is actually from there too, so it would make more sense that the English evolved,
sent him back to London to claim his right
you know,
to
up
admission
in
to the
Europe,
cult of the
and
Adepti
then
in the ISIS
they were
European
doing, you know, they were doing fucking,
Crowley
look, it was
appealed
like
to
these
Mathers
motherfuckers.
sent a
These
letter
aren't the
affirming Crowley's
Jesuits.
admission and ordering the London adepts to comply. The London adepts refused, and in the ensuing conflict, which played out through an extraordinary series of increasingly hostile letters.
They had the
formal
original fake
declarations,
cipher to
and
translate
one
Hebrew
attempt
into
by Crowley
English.
to physically take
These
possession
people had
of
the
all his
original
London premises.
ciphers that they made up to try to translate Hebrew into English.
Count Vladimir Zverev.
Unbelievable.
The organization
And they're not
structure of the
Jesuits.
original Golden Dawn was effectively destroyed.
I don't
The
even
formal
think they're
break
Christians. You
in
can't even say they're
1900,
Christians or
London
Jesuits.
adepts,
They're like
led by a
occultists.
committee that included
It's
Yates,
literally
was
the
voted to
occult.
expel Mathers from the order he had co-founded.
They're like the most
grounds were
sophisticated
multiple
of the
and
occult.
overlapping. His failure to provide the promised advanced materials of the Second Order's higher grades, his admission of cruelly against the membership's wishes, his autocratic behaviour, and his association with persons the London membership considered dangerous to the order. Mathers disputed the legality of the expulsion until his death. The London membership reorganised itself under a new governance structure and continued to operate as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, though without the authority and coherence of the original.
Their Gematria, it's like called
But the
Thelema or
chaos
some
did
shit,
not
the
end
Aleister
there.
Crowley
The
Gematria.
revelations about the cipher manuscripts, which had been
Cipher
nagging at the
manuscripts?
membership for years, came to a head in the early 1900s.
I guarantee you those cipher manuscripts are not the four ciphers in English. I guarantee I'll bet you anything they're not.
Was almost certainly false.
I bet you anything those cipher manuscripts are not
produce the
your four
original
ciphers in English
correspondence
on the
with Schreiber.
calculator.
He claimed the letters had been destroyed. The German occult scholar who was supposed to have transmitted the cipher manuscripts could not be traced to anyone's satisfaction.
They were using
The
some
manuscripts
cipher codes that you
themselves,
can't even figure it out because it goes into like
appeared to have
German
been
or some
compiled
shit.
in the 1880s rather than at any earlier date.
Unbelievable.
The evidence pointed toward the cipher manuscripts being a fabrication, possibly Westcott's work, possibly Mathers's, possibly both, and the German authorization being either a complete invention or a document Westcott had forged to give the order the appearance of genuine European lineage. This revelation was devastating to some
Hey, what's
members
up?
and irrelevant
What's
to
up,
others.
whoever that is in the
difference
chat?
in reaction tells you something important about what the Golden Dawn
I hope you
actually
guys
was.
appreciate and
Those who
understand
joined primarily because
this
they
actual
believed they were
like
entering a
research
genuine
documentary
ancient
that I'm
tradition
sharing with you guys
with
about the
unbroken
occult
lineage stretching back
and the
through
Gematria.
European Rosicrucianism to the Renaissance Magi. The exposure of the founding
I'm not even
stories
trying to
of
make a
occult
narrative,
fabrication
but I'm just
was enough to
saying this
destroy
is
their
not the
commitment.
Jesuits. If you
Why
notice,
participate in a
if you
system
notice,
whose
the
claimed
Hermetic Order of
authority
the
was
Golden
built on
Dawn is
lie?
not the
For
Jesuits.
those who had stayed because the system
Like
itself
the
worked,
like the cult of
because the
fake Gematria
initiations had
claims.
genuine transformative power, yet because the curriculum produced genuine development of perception and understanding.
Yeah, look, the quack said that this shit's from the
Jesuits.
Jesuits.
Difficult to explain as mere coincidence or projection.
Your boy Zach lies about esoteric knowledge and said that this was the
system
Jesuits.
was real,
Can you
regardless
believe
of
that?
what story had been told to justify
What a
establishment.
joke.
Yates characteristically belonged to the second group.
Look, they're
He
making
knew
up
about the
Kabbalahs.
dance regarding
Look,
the
they made up some other
continued
Kabbalah.
his
Look.
Golden Dawn practice regardless, because his experience of the work had convinced him that the work itself was real, and that the historical question of its origins was a separate matter. His loyalty to the order and to the system of magical
Is that what all the numbers
practice it had
mean?
given him survived
Is that the
everything.
Kabbalah they're
The
doing?
Mather's expulsion, the Crowley crisis, the cipher manuscript controversy, the schisms,
cipher manuscript
and the gradual
controversy,
dissolution of the
really?
original organization. He
Unbelievable.
continued working with the Golden Dawn symbolic
And
system
all
for
the, like,
his
lurking in the background, the obvious thing to point out here is that even this occult knows that Gematria is Hebrew. They knew, they studied Gematria for hundreds of
The
years.
dissolution of the original Golden
And
Dawn
Gematria is
organization did not
2,500
happen
years
all at
older than
once.
this shit.
It happened in stages.
Gematria
through a
is always
series of
Hebrew and it
schisms
never
and
turned into this shit.
constitutions that
When they
produced
tried to
three
turn
distinct
it into this
successor
shit,
organizations
it
in
doesn't
the
really
early years
work
of the
because it's all
20th century.
wacky. It's all
carrying a
wacky
different
ass
inheritance
Kabbalahs
from
and
the
shit.
original, and each emphasizing different aspects of what the Golden Dawn had been.
They just make
The
up
first
different tree of
most
lives and different,
immediate
like,
significant
Kabbalahs
schism
and shit.
produced the independent and rectified
It's
writer
fucking bullshit.
Arthur Edward Waite,
It's
who'd
cult
been a member
garbage.
since the early 1890s and who had always been more interested in
They're
the
like,
order's
look at our
Christian
flat earth
mystical
fucking
dimensions
Kabbalah
than
fucking
its
magic
practical
earth
magical
tree.
work. Waite, who is best known today for the Rider-Waite Tarot deck he commissioned in 1909, which became and remains the most widely used tarot deck in the world, regarded the Golden Dawn's practical magic as a distraction from genuine mystical development and used his reconstituted organization as a vehicle for a more contemplative, symbolically oriented approach to the system. His organization was less magical in the technical sense and more mystical, and it attracted members who shared his preference for inner spiritual work over ritual operations. The second major successor was the Stella Matutina, the Morning Star, established by Robert Felkin and Marcus Blackton in 1903. This was the organization that remained closest to the original Golden Dawn structure and curriculum, and it was through the Stella Matutina that the Golden Dawn's magical tradition was transmitted most directly to later practitioners. Dion Fortune, one of the most important occult writers of the 20th century, received her initial Golden Dawn training through the Stella Matutina before establishing her own organization, the Fraternity of the Inner Light, which became one of the most influential British occult organizations of the mid-20th century. Israel Regardie, the young American occultist who served as Crowley's secretary in the late 1920s and who later became the most important single figure in the transmission of the Golden Dawn tradition to the 20th century, received his knowledge of the Golden Dawn system largely through Dion Fortune.
You know, in these groups, they actually aren't allowed to tell you the truth about what they're doing, so obviously they would have someone like Wackery lying to you about it.
Between 1937
They have to lie about it. It's part of the deal.
Regadie's
It's
decision
part of
to
like what they're
publish the
doing.
Golden Dawn's
They're lying.
complete material was enormously controversial in occult circles.
You know, in
and
these
was
occult
regarded by
circles,
many
part of what they do
surviving
is
members
lying.
as a successor
They literally, they're not
organizations
going to tell
as a
you what their little
profound
secret
betrayal
ciphers
of the
actually
principle
are.
of initiatory secrecy on which the
That's why they would
entire
have
order
some
built.
whack like Zachary K.
Material
Hubbard
was secret.
lying about
It
Gematria.
had
It's
been
obvious.
transmitted only to initiates.
It's like part of their deal.
Publishing it meant that anyone could read it.
You're not allowed
The
to just
carefully
publish
graduated
anything.
system
Any
of
old
initiatory
Gematria.
transmission was bypassed entirely, and that the order's symbolic system was available for use, modification, or misuse by anyone who could afford to
Misuse.
buy a book.
You can just
Regardie
misuse
argued
shit from
with
this book.
considerable force that the alternative was the complete loss of the tradition.
They tell you
through
how
the
to,
death
like,
of the remaining members
misuse
who held it, and that the materials
everything,
were
like
too important to
magical
allow to
forces or
disappear into
whatever.
private archives. Whether he was right is a question that the subsequent history part
Dude, that totally
answers.
reminds
The
me of
publication
the
of the Golden
Gematriaholics
Dawn
calculator,
materials
how they're
ensured
like
that the
giving you a
tradition
bad.
survived and
They're
spread
like,
in
just
ways
use this
it never
one.
would have through the closed initiatory transmission.
You don't have to
of
learn
successful
what the real
organizations
gematria.
and
That's way too
the
hard.
third major current
You have to learn that from like a rabbi for like 10
by
years.
far the most
Just
publicly
learn this one.
visible and
Here's a
most
little
widely
gematria
influential
meter
was the
calculator.
work of Aleister
Just
Crowley.
use our little
After
gematria
his
meter
expulsion
calculator. It's
from
from
the Golden
Aleister
Dawn
Crowley.
context, Crowley continued developing the magical system he had learned there, pushing it in directions that the original order had not anticipated and would not have endorsed. His system of Thelema, which he developed after a series of experiences in Cairo in 1904, that he described as a direct transmission from a non-human intelligence called Aiwas, and that produced his central text.
Yeah, oh
the
dear,
Book of
oh
the
god,
Law,
the flag,
drew
red
on
flags.
Golden Dawn symbolism and methodology throughout,
Right.
but reframed it within a new cosmological and ethical framework, where the Golden Dawn had operated within a broadly Christian symbolic vocabulary, even when drawing on non-Christian sources.
Dude, those of you guys that understand what I'm sharing here, I mean, this is ridiculous. The quacks will just gaslight this shit. They'll be like, Cuts, what do you mean? What is this? What are you trying to say? What are you showing? What do you mean?
Century,
What
which
cabal?
included not only the
What
Book of the Law,
gematria?
but also the enormous magic in theory and practice, the Equinox series, and dozens of shorter works, transmitted a version of the Golden Dawn's magical system, heavily modified by his own innovations, to a vastly larger audience than the original order had ever reached. Crowley's influence on 20th century popular culture is difficult to exaggerate. The Beatles put him on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. Jimmy Page,
Dude,
the
look at this
guitarist for Led
goofy ass
Zeppelin,
shit.
was a serious student of his work and acquired his house, a moleskin house on the shore of Loch Ness, where Crowley had conducted his most ambitious magical operations.
Ambitious magical operations and like all the burn down. Listen to this. They started the Church of
drew
Satan.
on Crowley's work extensively.
The Church of Satan drew on Crowley's work. The Church of Satan wasn't from the Jesuits, like Zach
That
claims.
became one of the dominant currents in
This
late
is where all this
20th
stuff
century
comes from.
occultism, traced its direct lineage through Crowley back to the Golden Dawn, when modern practitioners of ceremonial magic pick up a wand or trace a pentagram or vibrate a divine name in a ritual context. They're almost always working.
Dude, I know
within
for
a
sure.
framework
I know
that
for sure.
derives ultimately from the
I know
Golden
for
Dawn,
sure. The way they're
usually
doing
through
this,
the
like
mediation of
esoteric,
Crowley's
occult,
published
Kabbalah
work,
knowledge,
guides
gematria
publication of
stuff
the
that they're
original
doing in the
system.
occult.
To
Dude, it's
understand the
not
Golden
the actual
Dawn
thing.
and
That's
its
not really.
influence
They're
on
not
practical
really doing
magic.
gematria, and they're not really doing Kabbalah. They're just lines. They're just making up like disgusting fucking ritual garbage.
10 times the normal.
They're literally doing
Buried
witchcraft.
and dead. The law firm under investigation for allegedly paying people to file false sex abuse claims.
Oh my God,
The
these
firm
commercials.
embezzled millions from disaster victims. These so-called consumer attorneys are spending millions so nobody holds them accountable. Fight back and protect.
Does anybody understand what I'm like sharing here? I mean, it's unbelievable. Let's get 4 viewers and 4 likes and likes.
You said the Whopper is the best burger in America.
Oh my God, I can't have it. They're trying to, the commercials are trying to wrap my fucking channel. Jesus Christ, the Whoppers. Buy some GMO Gematria Whoppers. This one actually looks kind of dope, though, this commercial. Some weird ass futuristic Why would they lie to you about the Kabbalah?
Is to miss what made it genuinely extraordinary. The Golden Dawn was not primarily a magical workshop. It was a school for the development of consciousness, and it was the first institution in the English-speaking world to attempt this systematically using the full resources of the Western esoteric tradition. The magical techniques it taught were in this framework not ends in themselves, but instruments for the development of specific qualities of perception, will, imagination, and understanding. The goal was not power in the ordinary sense, but what the order called knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. Bonds, a phrase borrowed from a medieval grimoire called the Book of the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage that Mathers had translated from a French manuscript in the 1890s. The Holy Guardian Angel was the term the Golden Dawn used for the individual's higher self, the deepest and most authentic dimension of personal identity, the part of the person that was in direct contact with the divine. The entire magical curriculum of the Order was understood as preparation for this encounter, a systematic training of the imagination, the will, and the moral character that would eventually make the practitioner capable of sustaining the overwhelming intensity of direct knowledge of their own deepest nature. This framework, whatever one thinks of its supernatural claims, describes something recognizable in psychological terms. The development of genuine self-knowledge, the kind that goes below the comfortable stories people tell themselves about who they are, and encounters the actual structure of motivation and fear and desire that underlies ordinary self-presentation, is one of the most difficult and most important things a human being can attempt. The Golden Dawn system approached this goal through an elaborate symbolic technology, using ritual, meditation, visualization, and the systematic study of correspondences to build a flexible and powerful symbolic vocabulary that could map.
Dude, if your gematria was you doing a video making up a little Elvis fucking fake gematria Elvis code, I mean, you're fucking insane.
He arrived
That's
at similar
insane.
conclusions through the completely different methodology of clinical
It's the Elvis
psychology.
gematria.
But the human psyche has a structure.
I'm not even dissing Jurassic Liar, I'm dissing Zach for copying
projections of that structure
the
onto the
Elvis
outer
concept.
world.
Just stirring it up, you know?
Psychological development requires a conscious engagement with the depths of the self that most people never undertake. Jung never joined the Golden Dawn and appears to have had no direct contact with its membership, but the parallels between his system and the Golden Dawn.
Dude, Jesuits can't even get in
striking
the
enough
fucking
that
order of
they
the
have
Golden
been
Dawn.
noticed by scholars in both traditions, and they point to something real. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a number of people with very different backgrounds and very different methodologies were converging on similar conclusions about the structure of the inner life and the possibility of its deliberate development. The Golden Dawn represents one of the most sophisticated attempts to develop a practical technology for that development, using the symbolic resources of the Western esoteric tradition. Mathers died in Paris in 1918.
Right, so I just
during
looked it
the
up.
influenza pandemic.
I just
that
looked
killed
this shit
more
up.
people than
It
the First
says,
World War. His death
based
was
on
not
available
widely
records,
reported
there is
outside cult
no
circles,
evidence
and even
that
within those
Jesuit
circles,
priests or
occasionally
members of the
controversy and
Society
grief,
of Jesus
since
were
Crowley
members
claimed
of the
for
Hermetic
years to
Order
be
of the
conducting
Golden
magical
Dawn.
warfare
The
against him.
Golden Dawn
And
was an
timing
occult
provided
esoteric
ammunition for
society
both
focused
sides.
on
The London
ceremonial
succession
magic,
continued
Kabbalah,
in
and
various forms through the
Rosicrucianism,
1920s
which
and
conflicted
30s,
with the
but the
Catholic
original
doctrine and
organization's
Jesuit
coherence and
principles. That's what it
prestige were gone,
says.
and what
These aren't the
survived was a
Jesuits.
constellation of smaller groups and individual practitioners, each working from their own inheritance of the Golden Dawn's materials. The publication of Regardie's 4-volume edition of the complete Golden Dawn
There's
system
no proof that
between
Arturo Sosa is
1937
doing any of
and
this
1940
esoteric occult shit.
provided the foundation for a 20th century revival of
And
the
if they
tradition.
are, they need to
In
get
the
them out of
United
there.
States in particular.
Like, I
where the
agree with that. If there
original
was
order
like a
established
Jesuit
temple,
priest or a Jesuit
but where
pope
Regadie's
or
books
some shit and they
circulated
were
widely,
caught
the
actually doing any
1960s
of this
and 70s saw
esoteric
the
type
formation
garbage,
of a new
they should get
Golden Dawn-based
excommunicated from the church
organizations that
immediately.
drew directly
They
from
should.
Regardie's
Absolutely, they
publication,
should.
and that operated for the first
The reason why
time
that there's corruption in the church is
outside the
probably
lineage
these
of
groups trying to
initiatory
infiltrate the
transmission from
church.
the original order. These organizations, of which the most significant were the builders of the Adytum.
I don't even want to defend religion that much or the church, but like, I mean, this is different. This is worse.
Spread the order's system to a new generation
this stuff is
of
worse than the
practitioners
church.
who had no personal connection to anyone who had been in the original order, and who encountered the tradition entirely through published materials.
This type of stuff has like
which might seem to
tons of cults affiliated with it, with like way weird fuck
something
shit.
important about what the Golden Dawn
By the
system was. The system worked, or at least produced reported
If there was a group doing number rituals, it would be
print, rather than
these
through
type of occult
initiatory
groups.
ritual in an established
If there was
village.
any cults
The symbolic
doing
correspondences could
Gematria, it would be
learned
one of
and
these
applied.
occult
Then,
groups.
the meditation practices could be followed, the ritual structure could be enacted, and practitioners reported the same kinds of experiences and developments that had been reported by members of the original order. Whether this means that the Golden Dawn system taps into something real about the structure of the psyche and the cosmos, or simply that it is a sufficiently coherent symbolic technology that engaging with it seriously produces the kind of consciousness changes that result from any serious sustained practice of symbolic contemplation, is a question that remains open. The Golden Dawn's influence on literature and art extends far beyond Yeats and the other members who were primarily
The
artists.
Jesuits are
The
keeping the
tradition of
secret, the
supernatural
secret
fiction runs from
ciphers,
Reformation
and it's
to
4 ciphers in
Algernon
English. You
Huxley,
guys, quack!
James H.P. Lovecraft, and eventually to the entire genre of contemporary fantasy and horror, draws on a conception of the invisible as genuinely threatening and genuinely real that the Golden Dawn helped establish in the British imagination. Lovecraft was not a Golden Dawn member, and appears to have been personally hostile to the occult, but the architecture of his Cthulhu mythos, with its higher dimensional entities accessing the ordinary world through specific ritual conditions, is structurally very similar to the Golden Dawn's model of how contact with forces beyond the ordinary
It's
world
weird.
is
You would
possible.
think that if
difference
the
is
quack
that
was
for the
teaching
Golden
about
Dawn,
English Gematria, he would have taught about all this and not just said that it was the Jesuits doing Gematria. Because researchers can go check all this stuff.
The person who attempted it. Both are, in their different ways, taking seriously the same fundamental.
Why should we take any of you Gematria cult community people seriously when we can double check all your rhetoric and you're literally lying about every single thing?
Will not survive the encounter intact. The Golden Dawn also established, largely through the influence of its membership on publishing and intellectual circles, the template for what a serious occult organization should look
Was there
like.
any Jesuits in the Order of the Golden Dawn? Based on available record, the quack will lie though and fraud them and be like, the Jesuits created the Order of the Golden Dawn. It's basically the Illuminati and the Jesuits.
Symbolic functions. A curriculum that builds systematically from foundational concepts to
I said
advanced
so.
practice.
Manly P. Hall.
An inner
Quack.
and outer order structure separate in the introductory and the advanced work. The requirement of genuine study.
Dude, there's literally no trace of fake Gematria in any of this occult history of all
as a
this.
genuine path of development, rather than as a social club with theatrical entertainments. All of
There's
these
not a
features
trace of the 4 ciphers anywhere to be found in the actual occult history of all this stuff that you guys claim you're learning and teaching about.
To Dion Fortune's Fraternity of the Inner Light, to the dozens of Golden Dawn revival.
Are you a learner? Are you a Gematria learner? Or are you a Gematria teacher?
Golden Dawn
Quack.
history and
Are you a
living
rabbi?
practice. The original organization dissolved into its successors in the early 1900s, and none of those successors has continued in unbroken institutional form to the present. But the system the original order developed is more widely practiced today than at any point since the order's peak years, because Record's publication and the internet have made it available to anyone, and because the tradition has proven robust enough to survive both the loss of the institutional framework that originally transmitted it and the decades of popularization and simplification that have buried buried the real thing under layers of
Gematria
diluted
is
imitation,
Hebrew.
the real thing remains available for those willing to seek it. The 4-volume Golden Dawn that Regadia published is still in print. The tarot
Look what it
deck
says.
that
Look what it
artist
says.
Pamela Coleman Smith produced from
Was
Golden Dawn
look what it
symbols
says when I asked the AI a very specific question. Did the Order of the
Kabbalistic
Golden Dawn
correspondence
know that
system
Gematria
developed,
is Hebrew?
modified and expanded by Crowley and then by Dion
It says
Fortune and
yes.
his successors.
The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, founded in 1888, was fully aware that Gematria is a system rooted in Hebrew Kabbalah with a K.
Yeah, the aspiration toward knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, toward the direct encounter with the deepest and most authentic dimension of the self, is still the goal that serious practitioners of the Western tradition orient themselves toward, regardless of what organizational
Well, the
form
Golden
their
Dawn
practice
practice
takes.
a
Westcott,
syncretic
Woodman met in
form
London in
of
1888
Hermetic
with a set of
Kabbalah,
cipher manuscripts
which
that
blended
may or may not have
Jewish
been what they
Kabbalah
claim
with
to be.
Egyptian,
A
Greek,
letter from a
and
German
Hermetic
deck that
traditions.
may or may not
They
have
explicitly
existed,
used
and
the
a
Hebrew
shared
alphabet and its
conviction
corresponding
that
numerical
Western
values
esoteric
as
tradition
the core of their
contained
Kabbalistic
within
studies
something of
and magical
genuine value
practices.
that had been lost when the scientific
That doesn't
revolution
mean 4 ciphers in
separated
English.
magic
That
from
means a
science,
system with
and that recovering it required
Hermetic Kabbalah is
systematic work,
actually
serious
not
scholarship,
your fake English
and a
Gematria.
willingness to
Actually,
take the
Hermetic
invisible
Kabbalah
as
would
seriously
be
as the visible.
a
Whether the
blended
tradition
system of
constructed
Jewish
was genuine
Kabbalah
in
with
the sense of
Egyptian,
descending
Greek, and
from
Hermetic
unbroken
traditions
ancient lineage
on a
is
little
the lesser
spinning wheel.
question. Whether it worked is the greater one.
They
The testimony is
explicitly use the
extensive
Hebrew
and not
alphabet
easily dismissed.
and its corresponding
Went
numerical
through it,
values,
not fools.
aka
They were in many
Gematria,
cases
as their
among the
core
most
of their
intellectually
Kabbalistic
sophisticated
studies and
members of
magical
their
practices.
generation. What they reported
That doesn't say that you're fucking 4 ciphers. They're doing 4 ciphers in English, Zach.
Was not trivial.
That doesn't say that your shit's
theatrical
Gematria.
suggestion or wishful thinking. And the influence of those experiences on their subsequent lives and work was real and lasting and documented. Something happened in those ritual rooms in Victorian London. What it was exactly, and where it came from, and whether it can be explained in terms that the 21st century finds comfortable, are questions that the Golden Dawn leaves open. The cipher manuscripts...
Look, there's a distinction here, is what it says. Distinction. Well, they knew it was Hebrew.
In various archival collections.
Talking about Gematria. Distinction. Well, they knew it was Hebrew. The Golden Dawn utilized these techniques outside of traditional Jewish religious practice, applying them to Western ceremonial magic.
Still being studied, still producing the kinds of experiences it always produced. In
application, members were required to study Hebrew and apply Gematria to unlock hidden meanings in the Hebrew Bible and in ceremonial magic, such as calculating the values of angelic names.
London was the center of the Western world.
That's what Gematria actually
was the
is.
strangest and most serious organization in
S.L. McGregor Mathers, not a Jesuit, by the way, Mathers teachings, the primary founder,
gone somewhere else. There is one dimension
explicitly
of the
taught
Golden
the
Dawn
system
story that the
in his
institutional
foundational
history tends
text,
to
the
obscure,
Kabbalah,
and
unveiled
that is the individual human
in
cost of what the order
1887,
demanded of its
which
most
included a
committed
table
members.
of Hebrew
The Golden
letters
Dawn
and their
was not a
numerical
casual
equivalents.
organization. It asked for sustained,
Hebrew
serious effort
basis.
over years.
The
It
Golden
asked for
Dawn
genuine
system of
inner transformation.
Gematria relied directly on the numerical
Transformation is
value
not a
of the
comfortable
22 letters
process.
of the Hebrew
It
alphabet,
requires confronting
aka
things
Aleph
about
1,
oneself
Bet
that are
2,
not
etc.
comfortable. Dismantling psychological structures that were built for
So
protection.
they know
And
Gematria
discovering
is
that
Hebrew.
what they were protecting against was often nothing more frightening than the full reality of one's own nature. The people
And
who
what
went
they're
through
doing
this
is,
process within the Golden Dawn
per
framework
definition,
did not
it's a
emerge
distinct.
unchanged.
It's
Some of them
distinctly
found
different from
changes
Gematria.
deeply
It's not actually
disorienting.
Gematria.
Yates is the most
What this
documented
is
case.
arithmancy.
His
By the
engagement
time
with
it goes
Golden
all the way,
Dawn ran in
permeates way
parallel
down
with his
back into
development
just
as a
being
poet,
English.
and with his decades-long passion for Maud Gonne, who refused to marry him repeatedly, and who seemed to him to embody in her physical person the same mysterious and overwhelming quality that the Golden Dawn's magical work was aimed at accessing in the structure of the cosmos. The connections between these three strands
Dude, these
of his
motherfuckers
life,
were quacky as fuck. They just really wanted,
the impossible love.
they
were not
really
accidental.
wanted to put
They
Hebrew
were
into
aspects of a
English or
single
something.
sustained attempt to understand the relationship between beauty and terror and the divine.
Is Gematria Hebrew? Yes, Gematria is a Hebrew system of
precise
numerology
enough to articulate that attempt
that assigns
with the clarity
numerical
his
values
greatest
to
poems achieve,
Hebrew
when
letters
he
and
writes about
words
gyres and faces of the moon, and the antithetical and primary tinctures
to
of
uncover
vision.
hidden
He
meanings.
is using the conceptual language of the Golden Dawn to describe a theory of history and consciousness.
While the term itself
directly
derives
connects
from the
magical
Greek
practice.
geometria,
The poems
it is
of
a
public
found.
faith
So when it
are
says that the
investigation
term derives from Greek geometria, that doesn't mean that Greek is the same as Gematria and there's Gematria in Greek. That's not what that means. It is a fundamental ancient technique in Jewish tradition and mystical study for interpreting sacred texts.
Gifted magical practitioner the Golden Dawn produced, and her work with what the order called scrying in the spirit vision, a form of trained inner visualization aimed at accessing the symbolic dimensions of the Kabbalistic tree of life through meditative imagination, was considered by her colleagues to be of a standard that few others matched. She worked with Yeats on magical experiments. She ran the Isis Urania temple during Mathes's absences, and she developed a body of magical experience and practical knowledge that she never fully transmitted in writing, preferring the oral transmission that the Order's initiatory tradition favored. When the Order's organizational structure collapsed around her, she eventually left England for Ceylon, where she taught at a girls' school and continued her meditation practice under Buddhist rather than Hermetic auspices until her death from cancer in 1917. The path from Victorian London's most progressive magical organization to a Buddhist school in Ceylon is not a path most of the Order's members would have predicted for her, but it reflects something true about the tradition she'd been working in, that what the Golden Dawn was ultimately pointing at was not confined to the Western tradition's symbolic vocabulary, and that someone who had genuinely developed through the Golden Dawn
How come we can't find a documentary video about the Jesuits doing all this stuff?
The relationship between the Golden Dawn and the broader theosophical movement of the same period is one of the most interesting and most underexplored aspects of the Order's intellectual context.
Or is there like legit historical documentary that shows that the Jesuits were the ones dabbling with all this?
By Helena Petrovna Blavatsky and Henry Steele Olcott, was in many ways the Golden Dawn's sister organization, operating in the same cultural space.
Yeah, they were all
drawing on some of the same
philosophers.
sources and attempting a similar synthesis of Eastern and Western esoteric traditions.
Synthesis of Eastern
But two
and Western
organizations had
esoteric
profoundly
traditions.
different orientations. Theosophy was public,
These people were
evangelistic,
theosophists,
and
they
organized
weren't
around the
Jesuits.
dissemination of a comprehensive cosmological and spiritual doctrine.
If there
to
is
as
a
wide
group
an
that's
audience
doing the
as possible.
Gematria that you
The
guys
Golden
claim,
Dawn was private,
it's this,
initiatory,
it's this, it's
organized
not
around the
what you're
development of
claiming.
individual magical practitioners through a graduated curriculum of increasing sophistication and difficulty. Theosophy asked its members to believe a specific set of teachings. The Golden Dawn asked its members to work a specific practice and develop through direct experience what they were prepared to verify for themselves. Many of the Golden Dawn's founding members had connections to Theosophy.
Thank you, Governor Lombardo, for making healthcare a priority.
For bringing the first standalone children's hospital to Nevada.
And addressing the physician shortage with
This is
legislation
what
that's working.
it's like kind of makes me hesitant to even want to stream because
And his
if I
commitment to
have to
children's mental
block the
health will
fucking
change
goddamn
lives.
commercials.
And Lombardo's Nevada Health Authority
Ridiculous.
will ensure Nevadans have
Jesus
more access
Christ.
to affordable and reliable health care.
You gotta buy one of
Everyone likes
those
to talk
goddamn
about improving healthcare.
services, the
Joe
fucking block
Lombardo
the shit on the
is
TV
actually
or
getting
what?
things done.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, I'm U.S. Olympian Aaron Jackson, and I'm
Fucking
so
annoying as
proud to
fuck.
be a Penny Mac homeowner. Thank you, Penny Mac.
FIFA World Cup 26.
I'm not sure how much longer this little show actually is. Jesus Christ.
I'm making a robot game called Fist Fight Beta. It's a cluster action.
Or had passed through the Theosophical movement on their way to the Order. Mathers was familiar with Blavatsky's work. Westcott had theosophical connections. The intellectual climate of
The Quack, notice the Quack, if you ever seen the Quack's chat, like Quacks from his community will quack at Zach once in a while about Helena Blavatsky. They'll be like, Helena Blavatsky's after you, this and that, or whatever. And the Quack will just always ignore it.
Distinguished itself from theosophy,
He doesn't even know what you're
insisting
talking about.
on practice of a doctrine, on
If you try to
experience
talk to
over
the
belief,
Quack about any of this shit, they won't even know what you're talking about.
as a
They'll be
valid
like,
and complete path,
you
rather
heard of the
than an
Jesuits?
inferior
What about the
approximation
Jesuits, though? Don't you think it's
that
the
needed to be
Jesuits?
corrected and supplemented by Buddhist and Hindu
They'll literally
teachings.
just lie to you about
This
Gematria.
insistence on the dignity and sufficiency of the Western tradition was one of Bathers's most important contributions to the Order's identity, and it shaped the direction of Western esotericism for a century after his death. The physical spaces in which the Golden Dawn conducted its work were themselves part of the practice. The temples the Order established were not merely meeting rooms. They were carefully constructed.
Dude, where the fuck does it say that they were doing this to,
in which
like,
every element,
do sports gambling?
every colour, every piece of furniture,
Where
every
does it say that it's
position,
four ciphers
every
as a
ritual
method?
implement was charged with specific symbolic meaning derived
There's
from
like whole
Kabbalistic
like
correspondence
libraries
system.
full of books of this
The
type
vault
of
the
shit that
identity,
these
the
motherfuckers
central
do.
ritual space,
And there's not
the
even
second
one
order, was a
historical
hexagonal chamber
proof
whose
of
seven
that
walls
Gematria
were
is the
painted
four
with specific
ciphers in
colour
English. Not in
schemes
none of this shit.
corresponding to the
There's
seven
zero
planets of
historical
traditional
basis
astrology,
for your
with the
fake
ceiling
Gematria.
painted in the colours of the supernal Sephiroth, and the floor in the colours of the lower tree. At the centre of the vault was a pastos, a large wooden chest modelled on the tomb of the legendary Christian Rosenkreuz, the mythical founder of Rosicrucianism, and the central initiation ritual of the Second Order enacted the symbolic death and resurrection of the candidate in this tomb, and their emergence as an adept who had passed through the experience of death and come back with knowledge of what lay beyond it. The symbolism of
Pretty
death
sure
and
these are the
resurrection
groups that
runs through the
created
Golden
like
Dawn system
Satanism
at
and the
every
Masons
level,
and all these type
connects
of
it
cults.
to one of the
Like
deepest
tons of
streams
different
of the
cults.
Western mystical tradition. Every authentic initiatory
Even
tradition,
fake Gematria is one of these
Greek
type of
mysteries
cults.
to the Egyptian temple initiations described in the pyramid texts, uses the symbolism of death and rebirth to describe the inner transformation that genuine initiation
It's fucking
produces.
sick that they
The
let
ordinary
these type
self
of cults
is self-structured around its
operate
defensive
online.
habits and its comfortable stories about its own nature, must die before the deeper self can emerge. This is not metaphor, or not merely metaphor. It describes something that serious practitioners of contemplative traditions in every culture consistently report, that the encounter with the deepest dimensions of one's own nature involves a phase that is experienced as dissolution.
You know what's really
as the
funny though? That
dismantling
thumbnail that I did,
everything one thought
that's like an
one
old
was
game
before
show.
the reconstruction
Total
follows.
Blackout is
The
an old
Golden
game
Dawn
show
included this
where they
process
like
in its
make all the
ritual structure
contestants like
and
go
made
in
it
a
the
like a
explicit
dark
goal
room, like
of
or
the central
an
second
isolation
initiation.
type shit where
The
they can't
magical
see anything
diary
at
was
all.
one of the most important
And
practical
they like make them
tools
do
the
hella
Golden
fucking
Dawn
weird shit,
required of its
like have
members.
like
And
thermal
it is
video
through the
of it,
magical
whatever.
diaries that survived that we have the most direct
You
access
can't even
to
do
the Order's
fucking
practice
real fake
actually felt
Gematria.
like
You
from
can't even really
inside.
do fake
Members were
Gematria
required to
in
keep
fucking
detailed records of
total
every
on Total
magical
Blackout,
briefing,
Quacky.
every meditation,
Hey, Quacky, you look
every
like you have black
scribing
eyes
session,
and you can't do
every
Gematria.
ritual,
You don't even know what
including
Gematria
what they had
is.
done, what
You're
they
like
had
on that game
experienced,
Total
and
Blackout
what
trying to do
conclusions they
Gematria.
had drawn. The magical diary
Unbelievable.
was
Total
not a
Blackout
personal journal in
Gematria.
the ordinary sense. It was a scientific record.
Don't even try to
Orders
say no
were
shit like you think I'm trying to be racist or anything. It's just funny as fuck. It's like a fucking game. It's like a Japanese type game show where they like basically torture you and they fucking put you in like the dark. And it was an old game show that got banned and canceled
like Yates and Farr
because it was too fucked up. They were trying to do gematria in the dark.
Combining technical precision.
They didn't have a true grasp on the Kabbalah. You're basically, if you don't know Hebrew and you don't know how to do the Kabbalah, actually, the actual real Kabbalah, you're doing gematria in the dark, basically.
The conventional historical.
You're like on total black. You're like Zachary K. Hubbard on total blackout trying to do gematria.
What mechanism, if any, produced the experiences and effects its practitioners reported has been debated since the Order's founding and has never been resolved to everyone's satisfaction. The Order's own explanation was straightforwardly supernatural. The Kabbalistic system accurately mapped the structure of the cosmos. The divine names and angelic hierarchies corresponded to real spiritual forces.
A bunch of demons. It actually collaborates a bunch of demons.
These forces through the development of what the Order called the astral body.
You know that dark, evil, kill-off, dark side of the Kabbalah that Quack claims that his gematria is a part of?
In the dimensions of reality,
that's the one they're talking about.
Could not access.
It's like commanding, it's like summoning demons.
That the Order's practices were an extremely
this is exactly what Zach is lying to you about.
And that the experiences practitioners reported were
this is the story of the real thing of the occult knowledge that Zach lies to you about and claims that the Jesuits are doing
genuinely transformative in their psychological effects, but not evidence of anything beyond the extraordinary.
Dude, that guy Zach is such a rat, such a coward, it's ridiculous.
Now, between these
that's a total lying fraud show cult, a gambling fraud cult.
The distinction between the trained imagination.
If you were to describe a gambling fraud cult that called themselves Gematria, and you're looking at the Quack right on my thumbnail doing fucking total blackout Gematria.
Contains depths that ordinary consciousness does not access, and if those depths are in some way continuous with or connected to the structure of the cosmos in ways that the physics of ordinary material objects.
And why does Zach have a 42 on his hat?
Working with the deep imagination through a coherent symbolic technology might genuinely be a form of contact with something that is not entirely subjective, not entirely.
You guys notice that? Why does Hubbard?
Not entirely the product of one individual mind.
You guys notice that fucking garbage? Why does Hubbard have a 42 on his hat?
That some quantum physicists have approached from the direction.
Look, he's trying to do gematria in the dark.
Thoughtful practitioners.
They don't even know what gematria even is.
Have always implicitly occupied.
And he has like a super sus. Someone graffitied 2042 on his hat.
130 years in the past. The men and women who built it and worked within it and fought over it and destroyed it are all dead.
Remember when slaves were slaves? No errands,
What's up, you guys? Can you believe that?
Just you and your
Can you fucking believe that? Someone fucking vandalized and put fucking 42 on the Quack's hat? Dude, that's fucking hilarious. Someone put fucking Quackery like he's playing fucking he's like a contestant in the fucking Total Blackout game. And he's trying to do gematria. What the fuck is this game? Some fucking robot-ass game.
We can't
Everybody
on that who told the truth.
Jesus Christ. Really? That's a BMW commercial?
A dream, new dream. Certified for y'all.
No, I like my shit better than that. Fuck that.
The succession of organizations that descended from it are mostly dissolved or continuing in modest forms that would be unrecognizable to the original founders. And yet the tradition is more alive today, reaching more people through more channels than at any previous point in its history.
Dude, they're still doing
Regards
this
4
fake ass
volumes
shit.
are available online. The Rider-Waite Tarot is printed in dozens of editions and used by millions of people worldwide who have no knowledge of its Golden Dawn origins. The Kabbalistic Tree of Life is
don't
used
even
as
know
a
about the Golden
psychological
Dawn.
and spiritual map by practitioners
If
of
Hubbard
everything
from
from ceremonial
that
magic
other
to
cult,
Jungian psychotherapy.
if one of the Hubbards
to
lied to you about
contemporary
Gematria and said it was the
traditions
Jesuits, you would
call
never
themselves
know
a
about
cult.
the Hermetic
The
order
divine
of Golden
names
Dawn.
and the elemental pentagrams and the middle pillar exercise, one of the most practically important meditative techniques the Golden Dawn developed, are all available to
Quack
anyone
will
who
lie
wants
and be
them.
like, yeah,
What the
there was
Golden
some
Dawn
cult that was
ultimately
doing
gave the modern
Gematria,
world is a coherent answer to a question that modernity raised and then left unanswered. The question is, what do you do with the invisible?
They're probably
If you
tied to the
accept that
Jesuits,
the
I
world
think.
is more than its visible surface.
You can tie them to the
that the
Jesuits
human
with fake
being is more
Gematria,
than the
probably.
biological body and the social persona that operates it.
Even though
There are
there's no
dimensions of
historical
experience that the categories of
proof or
ordinary
evidence that
rationalism
they're
cannot
tied there as any
accommodate. What
Jesuits.
do you actually do with that knowledge? The churches offer one answer, but their answers come prepackaged with theological commitments that many modern people cannot honestly make. Eastern traditions offer answers, but they are embedded in
Look how
cultural
creepy
and
and
religious
weird these
frameworks
fucking
that
motherfuckers
require
are.
significant
Look at it, what the
translation
fuck is
before
that?
they become accessible to Western practitioners. The Golden Dawn's answer was, here is a system.
They're like a bunch
It
of
is
royals or
rigorous.
something.
It requires serious effort. It will not flatter you or tell you what you want to
They're
hear.
a bunch of rich
It
people
will ask
like
you to develop capacities
LARPing
you do
as
not
like,
have, and to confront
you know, like
things about
they're
yourself
down
that you
with
prefer
the
not to
folks or
confront.
whatever. They're
And if
like,
you work it honestly and
they're
carefully,
like, no, we're
it
doing
will give you
satanic
something that
rituals.
cannot be given
We're just
any
like
other
you.
way, which is direct experience of the dimensions of yourself and of the world that ordinary consciousness does not reach. That answer is still available. The system is still intact. The cipher manuscripts are in the archive. The grade rituals are in print.
Cipher
The Tree of
manuscripts are
Life
still
is
hidden in
the
their
same
archive.
structure it always was. And the question of whether genuine engagement with this tradition
And
leads
there's
to
Aleister
genuine
Crowley,
knowledge of genuine
where you got the
invisible
Gematria
realities,
from, right?
or to the development of extraordinary psychological capacities.
Dude, this video
that
is just
pressure
new
of
from
such
like just
knowledge.
like the last
Then
couple
ought to
weeks
both
or
of
some
those
shit
things
like that. How come the
simultaneously
quacks
raise
can't
the
find the
distinction
actual
between the
like
lights and
esoteric
that
knowledge
initially
documentaries?
appear is still exactly as open as it was when 3 Victorian occultists gathered in
What a
London
fucking
in
joke.
1888 to inaugurate what they believed was the most serious and most consequential magical enterprise in the history of the English-speaking world. They were not wrong about the consequences.
Dude, that's crazy. And then yeah, this is the pretty much gonna end out the stream. I just wanted to share all that esoteric knowledge research. And I guess the quack said some number shit about the fucking Elvis or some shit. Who fucking knows? Dude, they're so lost. That's ridiculous. You think you're quack Elvis?
Trolls in the upper level backstage passes. Wearing fake diamonds.
They're doing Elvis Gematria now. Gematria is Elvis now, you guys.
I'm talking a fraud drill with a heifer driving me around.
What the likes? How dare you?
And a green Volvo.
6 years and 4 likes. Fuck out
On
of here.
24th Avenue. Stepping in Shillingdales. Waiting for sniping Quinn to get her nails done. Gematriaholics, one day start tomorrow. Mighty Ends sending cash through Wells Fargo. Crack Elvis. $42 hot dogs a night. Tour bus with the Grizzly crew. Who won't stop who? Cock star on me, no tattoo. It's hard to show up. Fit the base with the strap cast. The quack you later. With Pride Diddy, rage for the machine. Flying over the Atlantic Ocean. y'all thinking about. Black Elvis, rockstar walking down Broadway.
I like that 611. I like that 611 code. Quack Elvis. The Jesuits are gonna quack and fucking Elvis. Quack Elvis, the fuck out. The Jesuits are probably gonna get the quack Elvis on 611, and he might severely suffer a head wound, according to prophecy. According to Gematria prophecy, they need to move out. They need to move out. We need to evacuate people from Washington. You know, they need relocation camps for the people in Washington. Hopefully they'll get the help they need, and if Washington suffers a catastrophic event that was predicted by Gematria on 6/11, you know, they should evacuate the people of Washington to relocation facilities. They should relocate all the people in Washington. 611 is a big Jesuit number after that.
Can you digest on them?
Quack Elvis, rockstar, walking down Broadway, 201, slips and falls.
Yeah, for the 2020 sets, Quack Elvis, get robbed up with this. Tour bus cat, Quack Elvis recorded in 42-track studio. Madison Square share sound check to speak direct from. Trolls in the upper level backstage passes, wearing fake diamonds around my glasses, leather coat, 56,000 from Rasta counting the shills. I'm talking a fraudulent with a heifer driving me around in a green Volvo Boys Park parallel on 21st Avenue, stepping in Shalindales, waiting for Snack and Quinn to get her nails done. Gematria and tour dates start tomorrow. Mighty Ince in the can, New Wells Fargo, Quack Elvis, $42 hot dogs a night. Tour bus with the Griffin.
You know what we might have to do?
Don't need no tattoo.
Might have to play the actual definition of Gematria to end out the stream. Because Gematria is Hebrew. Let's see, where is this shit?
Values that are being counted by methods above.
Notice how in real gematria the cipher is different and the numbers don't match? This is literally a song I made of the definition of gematria at the part where it describes all the ciphers of gematria. These are all the ciphers of gematria, actually. Notice how none of it is in English. The only reason it's even in English at all is because it's the definition of gematria in English. This is what gematria actually is, translated into English, the definition of gematria. These are all the gematria ciphers of gematria, describing what gematria actually is Hebrew. And dude, I bet you none of these gematrias know what this shit actually is. They don't know how to do any of this. Oh no, they don't. They've never even done one letter of a code of gematria. They've never even did gematria one time. There's no Jesuits doing gematria.
Methods, edit the range, different methods used to calculate the numerical value for the individual Hebrew Hermetic word phrases or whole sentences. Gematria is 29 of 32 hermeneutical rules, countenance by the rise of the Talmud for analytic interpretation of the Torah. More advanced methods are usually used for the most significant biblical verses, prayers, names of God, etc. These methods include Mispar Hakaki is the standard method. It assigns the values 1, 9, 10, 90, 100, 400 to the 22 Hebrew letters in order. Sometimes it is also called Mispar happening face number, as opposed to the more common.
Zijn name? Mispar. Rocha Yoch Hanove Mechanosh spells the name of each letter and adds the standard values of the resulting string. For double the letter, Aleph is spelled out of flamed pen, giving it a value of 1 plus 30 plus 80 equal 11. Mispar calculates the value of each letter and truncates all of the zeros. It is also sometimes called Mispar Siduri, with each of the 22 letters given a value from 1 to 22. Mispar is calculated by walking over each letter from the beginning to the end, adding the value of all previous letters and the value of...
Are you guys getting this? Do you guys understand how to do gematria? This is how you do gematria. These are the gematria ciphers. You guys are following this? Mispar Kidney, Mispar Siduri, all these gematria ciphers.
8 plus 4 equal kidney. Uses each letter as the sum of all the standard
Kidney, Mispar Kidney type ciphering method of gematria. You guys are following this, right?
1 plus 2 equals 3. The value of Gemma is 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. It is also...
I make this song so you guys can learn gematria.
Mispar Kidney calculates the value of each letter as the square of its standard gematria value. Therefore, the value of Aleph is 1. The value was 1. The value of Bet is 2. The Pharaoh is 4. The value of Gimel is 3. The Pharaoh is 9. Its value of Aruba Haklali is the square of the standard absolute value of each word. Mispar Meshulash calculates the value of each each letter as the cube of this standard value. The same term is more often used for mispar can be. Mispar ha, the value of each letter is its standard value multiplied by the position of the letter in a word or a phrase in either ascending or descending order. This method is particularly interesting because the result is sensitive to the order of letters. It is also sometimes called mispar mishulash. Is what? Mispar spells out the standard values of each letter by the Hebrew names is 1 plus 8 plus 4 equals 14. And then adds up the standard values of those little strings. The letter is also known as mispar and because the value of each letter is equal to the value of its name. For example, the value of the letter aleph is 1 plus.
Why would somebody lie about this? Like, I don't get it.
10 plus.
I mean, I know why, to sell gambling, but really, Gematria is for selling gambling?
The same operation is applied 2 or more times recursively. A variation known as Akyut Pinamiyat, the initial letter in the spelled out name is omitted. Thus the value of Aleph becomes 30 plus 8 equals 110. Mispar Ne'ilam spells out the name of each letter without the letter itself, AG, left for Aleph, and adds up the value of the resulting string.
Dude, you guys are gonna be Gematria experts after this.
Word is reduced to a single digit. If the sum of the value exceeds 9, the integer values of the total are repeatedly added to produce a single digit number. The same value will be arrived at regardless of whether it is the absolute values, the ordinal values, or the reduced values that are being counted by methods above.
Dude, that's crazy work. That's crazy work. What's up, YouTube? Dude, this is crazy. So when you talk about Gematria, but it's like from Aleister Crowley and the Order of the Golden Dawn and the Jesuits, that's really exciting. But when it comes to real Gematria, everybody runs off like they don't give a fuck. They don't even know what Gematria even is. When you show them real Gematria, it just goes straight over their heads. Like, they don't even get it. They don't even understand what this is whatsoever at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure with Zach's ideology, he will never actually be able to do real Gematria or understand it because it's diametrically opposed to his fake Gematria. Real Gematria is Hebrew. Real Gematria is religion. Yeah, that's what I thought. Don't say shit to me if you think you know Gematria. You think you're teaching Gematria? Notice they all love to fight for Jesuit Gematria, but then when it comes to what Gematria actually is, they don't give a fuck. They shut the fuck up. They don't even know what it is. They don't even know what this is. Don't blame me. I didn't create the definition of Gematria. Take it up with facts. You can't claim facts and you're like lying about the entire thing.
One word, the standard value is presented by one.
I made this song, but I didn't make up the definition of gematria. Don't argue with me about gematria if you can't go by the definition of gematria. If I have a definition of gematria that we're going to debate about gematria about, and you don't have a definition of your gematria, I don't want to hear it about your making up your gematria. This is gematria. 200. Unbelievable. Did you see that? Hold on, let's go back. I don't want to hear any arguments about gematria. Look. 75 different forms of gematria, some known methods, all in Hebrew, by the way. Unbelievable. Dozens of more advanced methods are used in Kabbalistic literature. 231 mystical gates of the Sefer Yetzirah, like methods in gematria. Instead of addition for the above mentioned methods. For example, spelling out the letters of a word and then multiplying the squares of each letter value. And the resulting string produces very large numbers in orders of trillions. The spelling process can be these lying gematria slimy cult of shells are so slimy. They'll be like, gematria was from Hebrew. Gematria was Hebrew. When they lie to you about this, they'll be like, gematria was in Hebrew. It started in Hebrew. And he produced by combining 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 2 plus 1. Displays all 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 2 2 plus 1 plus 1 is bound with 1 3. You know what it is? They get mad about this because they don't actually understand what this is. And they don't like that. They want to pretend like they're fucking smarty-arties and they know gematria and they don't. They just want to pretend like they know what this is. And that's the simplest, most dumbed-down form of it for you to play like you're a rabbi, actually, when you're not. You don't know gematria. 15th, 16th century, Rabbi David Hahn Levi's methods also consider the numerical values and other properties of the vowels. Kabbalistic astrology uses some specific methods to determine the astrological influence on a particular person. According to one method, the gematria of the person's name is there anybody from Zach's gematria cult that's actually in the OTO or what? Divided by 7 and 12. The remainder signify a particular planet and zodiac sign. Even if there was some fake gematria quack that we could find from the OTO that was like, yeah, I love gematria English, I would still flash on them and call them out and say they're fake as fuck. Even if it was a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, I would still tell them that they're a quack. Who was one of the order's founders, published the transliterated cipher in the Kabbalah. Unveiled in the this is what that documentary I just showed you guys was about. Letters, numbers, sound of power, Hebrew and Chalti letters, numerical values, Roman character by which express names, signification of names, 1A. Thousands are denoted by a larger letter, thus an aleph larger than the rest of the letters among which it is, signifies not 1 but 1,000. Aleph, Fox, 2B, BB, Beth, House, 3G, Hard, Gega, G, Gimel, Camel, 4D, D, Gelef, Dor, Day, Delef, Dor, 5H, a 5H, Windows, 6B. How come Hubbard never taught anybody about the transliterated Hebrew gematria cipher from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in Palestine?
yes, you 10 on your hand. 11K, final, final equals final.
Why don't they use this cipher? How come they're not using this cipher? Wouldn't this be a historically accurate Aleister Crowley gematria? You know why they don't use this cipher? Because it won't mean fucking shit in their method. It won't do anything. None of the numbers will match. You can't find psyops in the news and do sports gambling. So they had to make up a fake method of doing ciphering on English so you can find all the numbers that you want. Because none of those numbers that they claim that they're teaching you meanings of numbers in gematria actually matches gematria whatsoever at all. None of it does.
222 VT 2400 SH Tau side of the cross as a former member of
literally 0% of their fake gematria is legit.
Cipher extensively in his writings for his two magical orders, the A and O Templi Orientis.
Oh, and that's another cult, by the way. That's another cult, the OTO, and they have gematria on their website. And yoga. They sell gematria and yoga, and it's a cult.
To various esoteric groups have either mentioned the cipher or published it in their books, including Paul Foster Case of the Builders of the
The builders of the Aditum does gematria. Anyways, I really just wanted to rub that in, and I guess I'm gonna get up out of here. Giddy on up in Matria. So McGregor Mathers, one of the orders founders, published the transliterated Hebrew cipher in the Kabbalah.
Many other occult authors belonging to various esoteric groups have either mentioned the cipher or published it in their books, including Paul Foster.
Many other various occult esoteric groups publish this shit in their books, really? What do you think that means? Why would somebody lie about gematria? That's ridiculous. Transliterated Hebrew. Alright, I'm out.
Before the Civil War, the federal